cars are lined up on the grid. The iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn one for the first time. Since 2010, the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series has been the absolute pinnacle of road racing in a simulated form. There's been 5 years of competition, there have been 2 champions, and today, 50 drivers begin on another journey as we enter the 6th season of iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series competition, and it will be all season live here on RaceSpot TV and also on iRacing Live. A very good afternoon to you, ladies and gentlemen, from the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace, also known of course as Interlagos. We've got ourselves just about 10 minutes before qualifying takes place. We are just over 40 minutes away from the green flag to kick off a new season of championship competition. Will Gregor Hutu make it 5 championships? What can Hugo Luis do? And also, don't forget about all of the drivers you've seen in the 2014-15 iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing. Joining me at this time, Rachel Whiteford and special guest Benjamin Lindsay. And Rachel, I shall come to you first. We've seen over the last couple of months the Pro Series of Road Racing, but now it's time once again to get the best drivers in the world ready for World Championship competition.
Well, good afternoon. Well, we've had our winter off season. The Pro Series has been exciting, but it's time for the big game. We are about to start round 1 of a year-long battle. This is going to be the Clash of the Titans. I cannot expect anything but an amazing race today.
As say, Benjamin, you have of course been in these cars. You have been amongst some of the best in the world. For the 50 drivers who have licenses who are going to be running this season, what are the emotions that they are going to have to deal with over what is a very long and tough, grueling campaign?
Well, it's first of all, thanks for having me. But nerves. You know, people have trouble in qualifying in the Pro Series, and that is more than doubled in the WCS. So they're going to have to buckle down and maybe focus on some tips or techniques to reduce the nerves and just get things going in a rhythm. I remember doing the WCS as a pro back in the day, and I just wanted to sit at the back, bide my time, and just let people pass and just hey, I'm in the show. But now these guys are really here; they're actually doing it, and it's time, to get that game face on and settle in and find your pace.
And of course, there are 50 drivers. They are battling for a top prize of £10,000 in $10,000 even in cold hard cash. And at the end of the season, someone will walk away as a champion. But Rachel, we've talked enough about, the drivers going out for it out front. We'll be talking about it all season long. One of the big stories coming into today's event, this could very well be the closest qualifying that we have seen in years in the World Championship, as it's fast, but it is incredibly slick out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And this track, it's never been the easiest. Adding to that, the temperature's making for a very slippery racetrack. From what a few drivers have told me, the car is very loose. They expect it's quite easy to spin the car, and most importantly, because it's so slippery, the guys are burning up their tyres very quickly. So you're going to find people running quite gently for the first couple of laps, for the first parts of the lap, saving what they've got for later on. Well, it's slippery, overtaking's difficult, that's nothing new here at Interlagos, and as always, late dives into turn 1 are the order of the day.
Yeah, and of course we did see in both of the events that were held here in 2014, drivers making issues for themselves down at the Senna S, of course, which leads immediately down into the Curve de Sol. And that's one of those things about this racetrack, Rachel, is that it's one of those classic Grand Prix venues. But what we found out every time we've been here is that you don't have to make the pass into turn 1. The best passes are actually the ones that are down into turn number 4. What you do is you just go a little bit wide into that first corner, get back into the toe, and then get that huge slipstream all the way out of the Curve de Sol, working yourself down that narrow backstretch, and then sling down to the inside. But you can even pass on the outside into turn 4, so long as you're actually side by side coming into the corner.
Yeah, we've seen that in quite a few series, not only the World Championship Grand Prix series, we saw some of the top teams here and some of the top drivers doing exactly that in races like the Neo Endurance Series will. So these guys are well familiar with passing opportunities on these tracks, and they're going to use them to their maximum. Of course, Young Cow is a fast corner, difficult to pass out of, but it gives you a good run if you can stay with someone. Turn 4, great opportunity. Infield section, pretty tough. It's fast, it's switching back and forth, it's tight. You can try. Turn 9 is potentially an option, but I don't think anyone's going to risk it this early in the season.
Yeah, just to get you know, ladies and gentlemen, what you are seeing on your screen is just a couple of drivers on practice right now. Panamulio, Richard Avery, Christian Tanahote, just getting themselves some last minute practice in before we head ourselves down to qualifying. And Ben, to talk about qualifying itself here, we talked about how difficult it's going to be. You alluded to a couple of moments ago about the pressures of qualifying. These drivers will have 3 laps. That's potentially 2 opportunities. But with the field as close as it is and the first round of the championship, there is always a possibility that one of the big name drivers won't make it in. And I go back to last year and I think about Luke McLean, Team Redline driver, someone who has got themselves top 5s in the World Championship Grand Prix Series, who have actually struggled in occasions to even make the field. And at his home race, he failed. We have just lost ourselves Benjamin Lindsay. So, Rachel, I will ask that question to you.
Can you repeat the question, Will?
No, I'll ask Benjamin again.
Yeah, I guess so. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's a tricky, very tricky qualifying procedure. Nothing like you would see in a A Series, B, or whatever else on the iRacing service. A lot of people, a lot of teams typically actually go less than 2 laps worth of fuel. So you actually take it easy on the first lap, get to a certain fuel state, and then start your actual run, because the weight of the car plays such a huge factor in the equation. And now what you will see is you'll have a lot of drivers trying to do the double run. They get 3 laps essentially out of it, and other guys just doing the single hot lap. But it'll be interesting to see how those tires hold up in this hot, slick weather. I bet you'll see just a bunch of single runs today.
Yeah, and I say we are just 5 minutes away from that first qualifying of the season. One other thing to notice, actually, Rachel, is that we have got ourselves some incredible paint schemes this year. Just actually having a look at that one of Christian in that Friction Racing car. Got themselves a new look, sponsored by Fnatic, one of 2 teams sponsored by Fnatic this season. Also, of course, famously Team Redline. But some great inventiveness by some of the drivers and teams this year with their paintworks.
Gotta say, this is gonna be the best year for the cars. They look beautiful, Will. Coanda, Redline, Radicals, Friction, they all look so exciting and enticing. You know, it really adds to the racing when you have exciting cars, exciting paint schemes. It really makes things look wonderful. It's like a carnival of speed.
It is. It really is good to see them. As they can see, Palamulia there in that number 25 car. He is just getting himself a couple of laps as well before we head ourselves to qualifying. That will take place in just a couple of moments' time. Don't forget, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, you can follow us on Twitter all season long at RaceSpot TV. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/RaceSpot TV. Use the hashtag iRacingWCS on Twitter. And we will even give out, over the course of this season, some prizes to those who can make us laugh, make us chuckle, and entertain us the most. Couple of drivers already talking. Orion Race Team, it's race day. They've got themselves a very interesting article actually on their website, orionraceteam.com. So shout out to them. Shout out also to our friends over at PSR TV and the Motor Racing Network, of course, covering the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com. And I have got to ask that question, Rachel. We do it every season. Jake Sturgis can make himself history by being only the second driver ever doing the double, winning in the World Championship Series, winning in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series. The only other driver who did that was Richard Towler. It was probably the most controversial race in Grand Prix Series history, but Jake Sturgis, he came very close last year. This year, in IronX Racing, can he do it?
I think he can, Will. I think he will do it. Jake Sturgis, he has mega pace. He's a fast driver. He has a good team behind him. I can see the clash of the titans at the front between the likes of Coanda and Redline boiling over in one or two races, and a team and a driver like Inex and like Jake Sturgis will be there to pick up the pieces. I think he will win. I'm not going to say it's going to be an outright pace victory compared to the likes of Coanda and Redline, but he's a consistent driver. He's very good at running in traffic. I think he can take advantage of other people's mistakes being a more rounded driver.
Just to bring you some breaking news, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, no Kazuki Omishima this weekend. Technical issues for him means that he won't make the field for the first of the World Championship events for 2015. But before we head ourselves over to commercial, Ben, who will be pole position for the first round of the championship? Because momentum-wise, it's that first of all of the victories these teams will have all season.
Yeah, it's the one that that manages nerves the best. I'm looking right now. It's probably going to have 39 or 40 people in this qualifying session, and boy, you're talking about a bunch of guys going home. So that's on the line. People know that, they understand that. But you know, I got to give it. I got to give it to either Gregor or Mitchell, because they've been so good in the past. And Mitchell, just with his nerves in the Pro Series, I don't see how he doesn't get a really good time this morning.
Rachel, Mitchell, Hugo, Hutu, Kroenke.
Gotta say, Will, he's come off a ream of success at the end of last season. I think today will be time to release the Kroenke.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is the bottom of the hour, so we're going to step aside for a couple of moments. We'll be back with qualifying for the first round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. After these messages, you're watching RaceSpot TV.
has officially begun.
Cars are lined up on the grid. The iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn one for the first time.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back as we are almost ready then for qualifications for the first round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series here on RaceSpot TV. 40 drivers going to make the journey to Interlagos. Only 35, though, Benjamin, will qualify for the first race of the season.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but people do have to go home if they don't make it. So we'll be looking for something in the 11s. I'm sure a comfortable number to get in is probably in the mid-12s. So I know people have a number to shoot for today.
Well, we're just waiting for the iRacing.com first steward to give the green flag to get these drivers out on the field. And Rachel, at this stage, there are a couple of mind games which, of course, come into play as these drivers just sat nervously on pit road. And you can see now those cars coming out onto the racetrack for the first time. Green flag is out. These drivers are on it.
They are indeed. This is the time they have to shine, Will. This is when we will really see the performance coming out. It's going to be difficult for them, and, well, it all happens now.
Well, there you can see Hugo Louise, the hometown hero for Ferrasa Commander Simsport. As, well, we alluded to this a moment ago. You can see the speed on this out lap is going to be a little bit slower, just getting a little bit of heat into those tyres, which is going to be important, of course. If you look at the weather, you've got an air temperature of 83 degrees Fahrenheit, you've got humidity of 41%, skies are partially cloudy, and there is a wind of 6 kilometers an hour, which will affect, of course, these drivers all event long. So there you can see the first look then of drivers for the 2015 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. And here, ladies and gentlemen, is your 4-time champion. It is Gregor Hutu in the number 1 Team Redline car. He's just getting himself then through the back end of the racetrack. Any moment now, these drivers will get themselves their first laps, and we will get our first indication of who is going to be right at the top of the timing sheet for the 2015 season. There you can see also Jake Sturgios in the number 5 INX racing car, working himself now at the exit of Yunsao down towards start finish line, and you can see these drivers now beginning to pick up the pace. The green flag is out and the first round of qualifying is underway. Cars down into turn 1 for the first time. There you can see Hugo Louise at the front of the field down into turn 4 already, Rachel.
Yes, indeed, and Hugo is on it already. That car is looking in great trim. Well, he's going to hopefully get a really quick time out of this. Of course, this is his home track. He will be buoyed on by the support of the hometown fans.
Yeah, there you can see Sector 1, 18.283 there for Hugo Louise. He works himself now down into the infill. This is going to be critically important for that Ferrari Coanda Simsport number 6 driver. Of course, he had his worst finish in the RaceSpot World Championship Grand Prix Series last year after doing a mid-season retirement, but he's going to be the first driver then to work himself through Sector 2. There you can see 35.833 seconds as he works himself up the hill down towards the start finish line. He will come. There you'll see the qualifying times on the left-hand side of your screen. Carter, first driver past the stripe, 112.515. Cronke, 111.894. Isaac Price, 2 tenths slower, and it's going to be Hugo Louise to pole position, but then Usiakola going faster. There you can see Alexei Usiakola. The important thing is, though, Rachel, nothing yet from Gregor Hutu. What is he going to do as he works himself past the start finish line? 111.849 to beat. He is only going to go into 5th place.
Yeah, it looks like Hutu's run of poor qualifying might still be underway, Will. Of course, they do have extra laps to use, so this could all change, but Gregor not sitting pretty right now. He's back in that mid-end of the front of the field that he really didn't like last season.
But look at the qualifying times. Usiakola, 111.849. Hugo Louise, just 3/100ths of a second slower. Then between Louise and Benito, just 6/1000ths of a second. Cronke, only 1/100th behind Benito. And then there's a bit of a gap to Gregor Hutu. He leads a second pack of drivers with De Jong, Borcha, Filo, Price and Baroni in it. We have, as I say, got 40 drivers overall qualifying. Here are the top 20 then that you will likely see. As you can see, Martin Cronke is back out onto the racetrack. He is on another run. There you can see provisional pole position driver Alexei Usiakola for Team Redline. Moving to Team Redline, of course, Benjamin. And he is making himself an impressive debut for that team.
Yeah, it certainly is. Great to see some good lap times. Great to see people doing well in new teams, and really the team aspect of this is coming into play very early on. That's a great thing to see.
Well, then there you can see Alexei Usiakola. He's getting himself ready for another lap. Hugo Louise has not come back out onto the racetrack yet. There is still 5 minutes of qualifying to go. There you can see Enzo Benito. He's working himself towards the stripe then. Let's see as he goes onto a lap in that number 9 machine. Down in towards turn number 1 he comes through the center S, running along board with him. As you can see, there's he works himself now through the curve of the soul. Sector 1 time will come up in just a couple of moments time. You're looking for something in that 18-second range, and it's going to be 18.216 there for Enzo Benito. Split number 1, a little bit slower than what we saw from Hugo Louise, Rachel, but still good speed. This is where you lose the time. If you're going to lose it though, down in sector 2.
Exactly, Will, and let's not forget he is our 2012 Interlagos Jensen Button. He won the final round at Zandvoort. He has a lot of pace, outshone of course by the championship with Hutu, but Enzo Benito is fast. We know he is. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, there you can see then second split time will come up in a moment for Enzo Benito. These drivers getting themselves in. This is the critical lap. They've got the banker lap in. Now if we're going to see fast times, these are going to be the really fast ones. 35.9 second sector then for Enzo Benito, running a little bit wide there through Yunsao. No issue as he worked himself up the hill. You'll notice those times will change on the left-hand side of your screen in just 1 moment's time. Benito working himself past the stripe. He will be able to do himself a 111.961. Not good enough as Cronke goes to pole position in the Ferrari Coanda Simsport car. So it's Cronke getting himself pole position. There you can see though, Alexei Usiakola, will he be able to respond? He works himself past start finish line. The answer to that question is yes, he does, by 61/1000ths of a second. Usiakola back to pole position, and Hugo Louise works himself past the stripe. He will not be able to improve his time.
No,
now,
he's starting a lap.
Okay, Hugo Louise starting a lap then. Mitchell de Jong working himself past the line. He's going onto a lap, and that number 26 go. No, he finished the lap. He goes up into P5, and that moves Gregor Hutu down a position. But Hutu has still got the opportunity to do another lap. There you can see Isaac Price in the number 12 car as he works himself from the back end of the racetrack. Through Yuntao he comes, working himself towards the start finish line. Currently scored in P10 in the INX Racing car, and it looks as though he is going to put his car down to the inside, make it as short as possible. 1:12.045, moving himself up one place into P9. But here is Hugo Louise then, Rachel. He's got himself just a couple of corners to go, trying to get himself to pole position.
He is indeed, and he's approaching now the final real corner here of Young Cow as he runs up towards the start-finish line. Well, time's looking good, a bit of a wiggle down the exit. That might hurt his time, but he's coming now. We'll get our split time and, well, the final lap time in a second. Can he improve? Will he pass Cronky and Nicola? We'll find out now.
Here he comes then towards start finish line. It's not going to be good enough. He loses out by just 14 one-thousandths of a second. It's Yacola from Louise, from Cronke, from Benito. Here comes Andre Borcha then through Yunsao. Now, you're not going to get a lap in if you come out onto the racetrack now. So it's just going to be this driver, Andre Borcha, working himself towards the stripe. He will likely get his lap in time. He will get his lap in time, of course, but can he go faster than Gregor Hutu? He is going to do a lap time. He's starting it now. Down in towards turn number 1 he comes, but Lindsay, we said it was going to be close as Borcha pulls off. He will not get his qualifying time in, so it looks as though we have our field, but look how close qualifying is.
Yeah, that's truly amazing. This place is, the shorter tracks have those small gaps in between, but this is just amazing. You look at 14 one-thousandth of a second between first and second, all the way down. Half a second separates, 15, 18 people, which is just amazing and makes for some really tight racing. So now you got strategy that's going to play into this during the race. Because people are shuffled, people are where they don't want to be right now. Some are look at Holtzman, Avery, Carla back there in the mid-teens, and they're not really used to racing like that. So this is interesting as a predictor of what's going to happen.
Well, there you can see the play clock is about to expire, down to 40 seconds now. We do need to preface this, ladies and gentlemen, by saying that there are still other drivers who are going to get times in. But here is your provisional look then at the top 20 drivers as they complete their qualifications. And it will be Alexei Usiakola for Team Redline, starting on pole positions. For us, Coranda Simsports, Hugo Louise in second, Martin Cronke in third, Enzo Benito for Team Redline in fourth, then Rocco Baroni for Coranda Simsports in fifth, Mitchell de Jong, Coranda in sixth, Team Redline's Gregor Hutu P7, Andre Borcha in P8, Isaac Price in ninth, and then Mugar Filo is running out your top 10. As you can see, play clock has now expired. As you can see there, the rest of the provisional results: Hegelin, Sturgios, Abe, Holtman, Avery, Carla, Vaz, Simpson, Ilbrink, and Tanahote. Tanahote 1 second off the pace. Now, of course, Rachel, we do know that there are other times to come, but Tanahote is going to now be having himself a worrying couple of moments.
He does indeed. It's a tough place to be in, Will. And that's going to be really interesting to find out what happens at the start of this race. Of course, we already have drivers well out of position that we thought might be higher, so early laps could be critical. Did point out, though, Hutu put one-timed lap in and parked. He's still on that qualifying island, Will.
Yep, and once again, Gregor Hutu picking up from where he left off last season with poor qualifying finishes. So we are going to try and get you a look at your pole lap in a couple of moments' time, but also we are going to try and get you qualifying results as soon as they come through. We now have them, and ladies and gentlemen, we'll run through your starting order for this, the first round of the 2015 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. So then, it is going to be Alexei Usiakola starting on pole position for this, the first round of the championship. Hugo Louise will line up alongside him on that front row of the grid. Martin Cronke inside of row 2, Ollie Picala alongside of him, Enzo Benito in 5th, Rocco Baroni in 6th, Mitchell de Jong 7th, 8th place for Gregor Hutu, Andre Borcha in 9th, and Isaac Price rounding out your top 10. Then it's Robin Friscops in 11th, Mo Garfilo in 12th, Jeremy Bootloop in 13th, Antoine Hegel in 14th, Jake Sturgis in 15th, Yuhu Abe 16th, Rico Alatale 17th, Patrick Holtzman in 18th, Richard Avery 19th, and Marty Piatella rounding out your top 20. 21st place will go to Yorni Tomada, Jonas Lekurian in 22nd, Sebastian Job qualifies for his first World Championship race in 23rd, Tommaso Kala, also new to the series, alongside him in 24th position. Dion Verges in 25th, Yao Vaz in 26th, Ilka Hapada, Risky Arisake, Pio Mulia and Miguel Martin rounding out your top 30. And then the last of the drivers who qualify, Alex Simpson, Paul Ilbring, Frank Levette IV, Thomas Stern and Christian Tanahote. We talked about how Tanahote was a slow driver. He, with a 2:12.799, makes the field by just 2/100ths of a second. Dimitri Yanis, Tomo Meglik, Samuel Clark, Justin Lindsay and David Heisey do not make the cut. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll step aside for just a couple of moments, but we'll be back with a look at the poll app after these messages. You're watching RaceSpot TV.
Monza is a very historic track. It's been around since the 20s, and it's gone through several permutations since then. We're also bringing forward a number of configurations. So there's chicanes that they've installed since the track's early days. So they can use original, very high-speed configurations of the track where the cars would just blow through where the chicanes are today, or they could use a more modern version. So it's a pretty cool, compelling track. The unique thing about Monza is it has a road course, but it also has a high-speed oval. And that high-speed oval can be run by itself. The Grand Prix course can be run by itself. And they also can be run together in a combined circuit, which is very unique and special in motorsports. This was one of the more challenging projects that we've undertaken. It was essentially building two tracks in one. It took a lot of time and a lot of care was put into it, but we're really happy about the end result and we think that people have a lot of fun driving it.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
Qualifying is in the book for the first round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, and it is Team Redline's Alexei Usiakola. He storms to pole position, and Rachel, we know that it was always going to be a close qualifying. Get this, 35th place, a 1:12.799. Pole position, a 1:11.783. That shows you just how close it is. Just over 1 second separating your entire field.
Yeah, absolutely. And what a grid it is, of course. Some serious heroes back in position, Will. And some new faces getting a little higher than we expected. And that is one heck of a pole qualifying time. These guys they don't drop the ball. They've had an off season and we're back and we're already fighting. Biggest concern though, who 2 is once again back in the pack, and turn 1, lap 1 here is very dangerous.
Yeah, and Benjamin, we can probably start to understand the reason why Alexei Usiakola and Ollie Pacala were picked up by Team Redline, leaving Glacier Racing, moving over to Pastures New, and, well, they're the highest placed Team Redline drivers.
Yeah, I guess there's something refreshing about that switch because it certainly seemed to pay dividends immediately. I mean, 11.783, that's just a ridiculous time. Put a few laps in this week, and really, when you sit back and look at it and think, you're just wondering where those tenths are coming from because these guys are that good, they're that smooth, they have that much ability, and with their team, they're able to make a comfortable setup that works for their guys, and it seems to be paying huge dividends right now.
Well then, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to show you the pole lap for Alexei Usiakola as we're riding along board with him then as he works himself out of that final corner, that run down towards turn number 1. Now, what we'll do is we'll slow this video down at certain points. You can see there, down he comes into that first corner right about now. Now, just have a look as he comes down into the corner here, all the way over to the white line on the right hand side. Make that arc into that first corner as quick as he possibly can, then use that curb as much as you can on the left hand side, but don't get all 4 wheels on it. You can unsettle it, as unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, technical issues always get us on this one. We will have to get you that lap in literally 1 moment. We shall be right back.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun.
Apologies for that one, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are then, as we can see Alexei Usiakola working himself towards the start-finish line. Down he comes in towards turn number 1. And you notice again, right-hand line, use that curb. Don't get all 4 wheels on it though, you bottom out. Then you work yourself, exit of the center S, down through the curve of the sole. Keep it as tight a line as you possible. Now you can let that wheel unwind as you work yourself down into Interlagos, turn number 4 and 5. Come into the corner, you can notice just there that he actually had his 2 right wheels right on that white line as he then turns the car in. Gets himself a little bit of a wobble on corner entry, but he's okay. Car pushes wide on exit as he works himself up the hill. Now he comes into one of the greatest corners in all of motorsports. It's Ferradura, turn 6. Just keep on turning right. You end up in turn 7 immediately, then slow it down for turn number 8. Now you come down into Pinera. It's a turn 180-degree left-hander corner, which immediately leads yourself into the entry to turn number 10, Bico de Bato, known as the Duckbill corner. Unwind the wheel from that one. Get yourself set up for Mugello, turn number 11. Now you notice you've got that blue asphalt on the outside of that corner. Drivers will have their laps invalidated or get penalised by the stewards if they were to run onto that one. Down into Usiakola comes. You can see a bit of a wobble there on both corner entry and corner exit, but sometimes loose is fast as Alexei Usiakola storms to pole position in the first round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. And Benjamin, I know we've got to let you go in a couple of moments' time, but we've got to start thinking about the race, surely, and it's going to be an absolutely amazing race here today.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what guys do with strategy, and then how we're looking on pace. Because you can lay down a qualifying time. I mean, everybody can get their times solid, but then you look at guys like Gregor, Mitchell, Enzo, the guys at the top of the leaderboard. They're so solid. They're so consistent. It's going to be really interesting to see if there's any particular strategy, two-stop or three-stop, that plays out here to separate each other, guys from each other.
Well, the interesting thing is, Rachel, we had a chat with Alex Simpson a couple of moments before we went on air. Now, a two-stop and a three-stop are viable. In theory, three stops is faster. However, you can't come out in traffic. It will be game over. So therefore, you're most likely to see these drivers running a two-stop strategy. I'm thinking, though, with the fact that you've got Yakola and his teammate, Oli Picala, inside the top four, I wouldn't be surprised to see them split their strategy. Louise and Kroenke doing the same thing, splitting their strategy, just to try and see where things all kind of feed out, at least giving one of them in each of the camps the opportunity to potentially go to iRacing.com victory lane.
Yeah, exactly, and it's going to be critical to see exactly how that happens. I do think a lot of teams will be putting a driver on that three-stop, just a gamble, of course, because you are faster. This track is slick and it's aggressive on the tyres, so it burns up the rubber. So three stops is the fastest method. Will anybody use it? We don't know. I think, as I said, my call is that some teams will gamble, but the majority will stay on the two. And that could play into the hands of the guys who are better in traffic, but it'll be very tough to call.
Yeah. One thing about this racetrack is that you can overtake, but you can only really overtake in Sector 1. If you can't make that pass into Turn 4 and 5, you're either having to go completely crazy into Ferradura, or you're going to have to wait another lap. And one lap around this racetrack, well, that can be the difference between winning and losing. Benjamin, it's going to be incredibly close in this race, but one of the things is it's the same old story. It's Team Redline versus Commander Simsport, but you've got more drivers in the mix. Is it going to be one of those top four drivers you think going to victory lane, or can the likes of De Jong or Hutu, a little bit further down the pack, potentially, drive their way to victory?
Well, it's possible for the latter, but I just don't see it. Looking at guys like Yusuke Kola, Hugo Luis, Kroenke, Bonito, those guys are so strong. Passing here is at a premium, and you almost have to be on a different strategy to be able to pass somebody. I mean, it's like you have to be on a three-stop to pass a two-stop guy, or a two-stop to pass a one-stop guy. So you just need a lot more going for you to be able to pass, especially guys with the ability that are in the top 5 on this grid today. So it's going to be interesting seeing what they do to try and work with that, but I gotta hand it to the hometown favorite today, Hugo. I mean, I just think 11.797 is just a ridiculous qual lap. If he's got any kind of race pace compared to that qualifying time, look out.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting to the top of the hour. Thank you very much to Benjamin Lindsay for joining us for our qualification coverage. Race coverage will be here in just a couple of moments' time after these messages as we get you set for the first round of the 2015 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. The biggest and best events live on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. We'll be back in just a couple of moments. Cars are lined up on the grid. The iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn one for the first time.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun.
After a long winter, the cars are back and they are ready to rip into action as we welcome you to coverage of the 6th year of iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series competition. And this year, the entire season lives on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. Welcome to Brazil, welcome to Sao Paulo, and welcome to the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pace, of course known as Interlagos. 35 drivers are getting themselves ready to do battle once again in the World Championship Grand Prix Series. And for those of you who are just joining us, let's take a look at your starting grid. Alexei Usiakola for Team Redline will be starting on pole position, with Hugo Luis for Ferrasa Coanda Sport lining up in second. Martin Kroenke in third for Coanda, with Oli Picada in fourth place for Team Redline. As we head on back, you see there P5 Enzo Benito for Team Redline, Rocco Baroni in 6th for Coanda Simsport, with De Jong in 7th place and Hutu in P number 8. Your top 8 drivers are either a Coanda driver or a Team Redline driver. You can see there Andre Borgia in 9th with Isaac Price rounding out your top 10. Robin Friskops in 11th with Mo Garfilo in 12th. Jeremy Boosloop in 13th, Antoine Heglin in 14th. Jake Sturgioff and Yuhu Abe in 16th, 17th as Alataulo. Patrick Holtzman in 18th, Richard Avery 19th, and Marty Piatella rounding out your top 20. As it's Will Vincent here on RaceSpot TV along with Rachel Whiteford, who will show you the rest of your field. Rachel, it is incredibly close, and we've now got to get these 35 drivers through turn number 1 for the first time.
We do indeed, Will, and we knew Redline would be powerful here, but of course not the order we expected. Enzo Benito doing very well, outdoing Gregor Hutu, of course, last season's champion. Can Gregor come through the field here and take the victory? We don't know. Will somebody release the Kroenke? I certainly hope so. My money's on probably Martin Kroenke to take this one, although I cannot count out any of those other Redline cars.
Well, there you can see, ladies and gentlemen, a first look at your champion, which is, of course, the one and only Gregor Hutu in that Team Redline car. He is now a 4-time champion in iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series competition, winning in 2010, 2012, 2013 and 2014. The only other driver to have been crowned world champion is this one. It is Hugo Luis as he works himself onto pit road in that Coanda Simsport machine. But who knows? It could very easily be another driver heading themselves to victory lane in this event and potentially setting themselves up for a great championship run. Rachel, it very easily could be Yakola. It could easily be Picala, for example. Two drivers who graduated from Glacier Racing, moved over to one of the world's most successful sim racing teams, Team Redline. They are there and they have made a statement immediately.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think anybody in this top 10 is in with a real chance to win. UC Yakola, the pole. Luis, a champion on his home track. Cronke, a powerhouse last season. Picala, Benito, Barone, De Jong, Hutu, Borcha. It could literally be anybody. These guys are all the best of the best. I just can't pick right now. The strengths, of course, have to lie in the camps of Coanda and Redline, of course. The driver lineups this season are incredible. So I think it's going to be between those two teams, but who? I don't know. Luis is in the catbird seat right now. He's starting second on the front row. That is a big advantage for him. If he can make an early break, he can run away with this one, Will.
Yeah, there you can see, of course, a couple of new drivers introduced into the series. Richard Avery for Friction Racing is one of them. He recently joined Friction Racing, and for those of you who are new to World Championship Series competition, this is how it works. You have yourself the top 25 drivers from last year remaining in the series. They are joined by the top 25 drivers in the 2014-15 iWCGPS Pro Series of Road Racing. Just then 1 minute to go before we head ourselves down to the starting grid. Ruku Anatauro, the only remaining Glacier Racing driver for this season, just working himself onto pit road. You can see these drivers now will all storm onto pit road, making sure they've got their pit entry point set absolutely perfect. As here's a look at Rocco Baroni then in the number 18 machine, working himself back end of the racetrack. Jeremy Bootsloop just coming out of pit road in the Radicals Online team. You can see they're another one of those teams getting themselves some nice shiny new overlays, removing themselves from the kind of BIR-esque ones, Rachel, that they were used to for many years. They've now got themselves a very sexy new look.
Yeah, absolutely. The old livery was a bit like Two-Face from Batman. It was kind of split personality. It's a lot nicer this season, I have to agree. Not that the old one was bad, but the current scheme is certainly much more attractive, Will.
As you can see then, just a couple of other drivers will cycle through them quickly. Ryan Race team, of course, coming out of the Pro Series. They were looking incredibly strong, but then their biggest driver, Mitchell de Jong, leaving for Passes New. Of course, that was kind of SimSport, so he's moved too. So, Yavaz and Ilka Hapada, once again, are leading that team's charge. Well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It's all the talking has got to stop, because practice is over, and we are just literally a minute away from getting a new season underway. And here's one more look then at your starting grid. We'll cycle it up on your screen, and we know, of course, that for that driver of Alexei Yakola, he's been in this position before. He has led races from the front. He did it for Glacier Racing last year. As we cycle through your field, though, we know that these drivers will want to get themselves early momentum in the championship. That is, after all, what this series is all about. Don't forget, you can tweet us, use the hashtag iRacingWCS, follow the entire season on iRacing Live. Live timing and scoring will be on as soon as this event starts. As you can see, your field lining themselves up now onto the starting grid. There you can see then your pole sitter, Alexei Yakola, about to get this field down in towards turn 1 for the first time all season. Those engines are now starting to rev. Ladies and gentlemen, a new season on RaceSpot TV starts right now. Great start then by Yakola from the front. They're packing up behind him one. They're going to be 4 wide as they come down into turn 1 for the first time. Will they make it through that first corner? You can see they're funneling through the center S's. It looks as though everyone has just about made it through. We have got ourselves some contact though, Rachel, at the rear part of our field. Dion Verge has been involved in this issue by the looks of it, but we've got ourselves still 2 wide racing, 3 wide racing as they come down into turn 4 for the first time. And here you can see Hugo Luis pushing wide. He's off the racetrack, but remains in second place for the time being, as he has got himself a little bit of company right behind him. That is Oli Picala, who's moved himself up into P3.
He does indeed. In that incident, Will, Antoine Heglin backed up into turn 1 and was hit in the rear there by, I believe that was Yuhu Abe. Contact heavy there, which got him spun into the traffic, and a big stack up, taking about 6 or 7 cars with it.
Yeah, we're going to get ourselves a replay of that one in just 1 moment's time. We're just going to let this first lap get itself in the books. But here you can see, though, out front, it is iWCGPS, who's already got himself a huge lead of 2.3 seconds over Hugo Louise. We'll talk strategy all day long, but it looks as though Yakola is trying to get himself onto that free-stop strategy. He had an absolute start of a lifetime. There you can see then, you can see Picard looking down to the outsides. They come down in towards turn number 1, trying to make himself a move around. Hugo Louise working on board then with Picard, and it looks as though that he has got himself now up into P2. Louise is being stacked up a little bit here, so you can see his teammate right behind him as well, and that is Martin Kroenke trying to look down to the inside of Hugo Louise. They come down into turn number 4, not quite close enough, and Kroenke defending heavily from Benito as well. Just behind him, you saw yourself a little bit of action going on, but we're gonna get ourselves then another look at the start, Rachel, and well, it was Antoine Hegelin who had just had himself an absolutely miserable first start of his season.
It was indeed, and just a correction, that was Patrick Holzman actually that came into the back of his car and spun him into the traffic wheel. A lot of incidents there for cars that really had nothing wrong, and yeah, a few guys will be going home very early here. We know it can happen into turn 1, but it normally happens in turn 1, not before it. But I've got to say, iWCGPS is romping away with this field right now, Will.
Yep, let's get ourselves one more look at that one then, as you see these cars work themselves down into turn number 1 for the first time all season long, and you have yourself a big incident. Now, we'll talk about this over the course of the event, but you do have ourselves a new penalty system which has come into force. You can see drivers all having to come down to a complete halt, and Antoine Hegelin and Yorni Tamala are currently scored on pit road. Out front, however, iWCGPS has got himself a 3.1 second advantage now over Oli Picard, and it's a further half a second, just over 3/4 of a second now between Picard and Hugo Louise. Louise down into that 3rd position. Down the pack though, Rachel, Gregor Hutu still running in P number 8.
Yes, he is. P number 8 is not where he wanted to be, and he's in the danger zone, Will. Of course, he survived that first lap, which is critical, but Hutu is definitely now able to look at passing cars. But as we seem to have mentioned, Redline and Coanda, very different strategies here, so I do think the pace difference could be unraveling later. It's certainly not looking good for them right now.
It's not. As you can see, this field has started to get a little bit more spread out, which is going to be useful for iWCGPS, as he's already 6 seconds ahead of his teammate Gregor Hutu. Just having a look through the field, actually, as you can see, we're right on board with Isaac Price now. These traditionally are some of the fastest drivers in a straight line. As you can see then, coming down in towards turn 1, not quite close enough to get into the rear of Gregor Hutu as they come back down into that first corner once again. But here you can see your top 8 drivers. It's currently Yakola from Picard, from Louise, from Kroenke, Benito, Baroni, De Jong and Hutu. Not much change in your top 8, Rachel. The big issue is the fact that your rear field, because they had to slow down so much, some of them are almost half a minute behind your race leader already.
Yeah, they are indeed, and a few guys have had to come into the pit circuit, of course, for repairs and just checking over those cars to make sure everything's alright. But yeah, the field is very spread out, which means strategy has now changed completely. You can find clean air a lot further up the grid than you think, which might make that more risky 3-stop with traffic a little easier now, because there is room. Teams will be scrambling to look at the new windows for that and see when they can bring their guys in.
Yeah, there you can see Martin Kroenke, of course, last season's runner-up, as he works himself down into Yun Sao once again, trying to close up to the rear of his teammate Hugo Louise. Now, Rachel, one thing about Louise, that first lap and a half by him was just absolutely miserable. And last season it was pit stops. Now, he might be running a little bit heavier than those drivers around him, which is why Picard was able to get past so quickly. But Martin Kroenke did almost make contact with his own teammate down into turn 4 a couple of laps ago.
He did indeed, and Kroenke definitely faster than Louise right now. But those guys staying in line, they know it's early, they've got a long way to go, and it's time to just look at position. They're not losing anything right now, they're working together, because later on, that will be a fight. But it's the first round, it's the early laps, there's no need to get aggressive with your teammate.
Yep, there you can see then, just behind that pack is Enzo Benito. Now, of course, Benito had himself a bit of a difficult season last year. He did win one race in the championship, which, of course, was his glory for just about 5 seconds, at exactly the same time. Gregor Hutu became a 4-time champion. But this field has started to get itself a little bit more spread out. Although down at your rear pack, you've got Alex Simpson trying to come through the field. And you got yourself a big gaggle of cars. And Rachel, these are all the ones who had to come to a grinding halt at the very beginning. They're all desperate now to try and make up some time.
They are indeed, and Alex Simpson, one of those cars that had to dodge out of the way of the Dirt Fest. But Simpson definitely moving through the grid. He definitely qualified out of position, Will. That car's looking pretty quick, and he's moving.
Yep, there you can see him. He gets a bit of a wiggle, though, on the exit of Yunsao. That's going to hurt him as he works himself up the hill. That is Ilka Hapala right behind, so they're going to work side by side then, down in towards turn number 1. And Ilka Hapala, will he be able to make that move complete as he looks down to the inside, and that Orion Race Team car right along board with him. And, well, you can see the inside line is his. And he will come down, and he will... No, he won't, actually, because Simpson gets a much better run on the exit of the corner and stays ahead for the time being. So Ilka Hapala not able to seal the deal. Just ahead of him, very close between the drivers of Paul Ilbrink and Yao Vaz. As you can see, also in that mix as well is Jonas Nakurian. And Nakurian, of course, now into his second season of World Championship competition. He's got Yao Vaz just about a third of a second behind him. But then Vaz is under intense pressure, Rachel, from Paul Ilbrink, as Radicals and Orion go back to resume the battles they had last season.
They are indeed, and right now Ilka Hapala, who was looking at Alex Simpson, Will, and that Orion Racing car is under threat from Paolo Muya. He's looking pretty racy, and Simpson just needs to catch up to this big gaggle ahead of him, but passing a train of cars that close together will definitely take a long time.
Yeah, there you can see it's all going on down in mid-pack. Out front, it is still a little bit more subdued, but let's have a look then once again at Isaac Price, because Gregor Houtu, by the way, has been able to get himself ahead of Mitchell de Jong. And Rachel, this is really the first time that you have Mitchell and Houtu going toe-to-toe. Now, we did see a couple of occasions last year them running on the same racetrack, but this is the first season that de Jong's earned his place as a World Championship driver. And Houtu passing de Jong, well, that really is just going to be the first W in Houtu's win column for the season.
Well, I think he will be, and Mitchell de Jong, of course, he is one of the Red Bull Rallycross drivers. He's incredible talent. And Houtu, well, I don't think he feels under threat by him at all. This is certainly not Mitchell de Jong's playground, but it's one he's trying to make his own. De Jong, though, looks like he is starting to catch Houtu, though, Will, in this infield.
Yeah, as Houtu, well, let's have a look at him. He's only up one position so far in this event. Last time by a 1:14.326. Rachel, we did talk about this a little bit earlier on, though. It does look as though that the two front red line drivers are on a three-stop strategy by the looks of it. Houtu, I wouldn't put it past him trying to go one stop here, as he was so far down in the pack that he's going to have to try and do something memorable to make up some time.
It's the weird sort of thing that Gregor Houtu will pull. A one-stop strategy would explain being out of position, it would explain his current pace. I do wonder if it's just a lack of speed this early on. We know he needs to kind of work his way into this series. Houtu, of course, locked in on points, not necessarily having to run in the Pro Series, but he's fast, we know. But is he losing his touch? Is he just taking a while to get going?
Also, we've just had ourselves Martin Kroenke moving himself past Hugo Luis. Let's see if we can get ourselves another look at that one. As now Hugo Luis is down into the 4th place. As here you can see then, he was defending heavily as they came down in towards turn number 1. There you can see Martin Kroenke right behind him. And Hugo Luis ends up losing that position down the back straight away. As you can see, Kroenke just getting himself an incredible run through the curve of the Sol that allows him to go side by side with his Coanda Simsport teammate. Now wondering whether Luis just conceded a position. You can see he's short shifted a little bit there, and Luis allowing his teammate to go past. Luis down into 4th place. Martin Kroenke now up into P number 3 on the racetrack, and that means that Martin Kroenke, since the start of this race, has only now lost one position. He's down in the 3rd place, so it's all going well all of a sudden for Martin Kroenke. He's back where he started, and Martin Kroenke continues his journey along the field as now Luis is under intense pressure from Enzo Benito, Rachel.
He is, but I do think the strategy has changed, because that pass looked like that Kroenke was letting him, Hugo Luis let Kroenke go. Of course, teammates and team order is not necessarily a factor, but they both want to see each other finish well. This could be Hugo Luis on a different strategy or being switched onto a different strategy, Will. That means that Martin Kroenke potentially going for a 2-stopper, or he's going to try and match those red line guys up ahead. They could be seeing if he can catch them and get involved. But, yeah, Hugo Luis, he's doing something different right now because the pace is off. But Kroenke, this could be an early championship lead for him if he can finish ahead of Houtu.
As you can see then, Jake Sturgios down in the pack. He's battling right now with Mogar Philo as we ride along board with the INX Racing driver of Jake Sturgios. And don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, live timing and scoring is available. Head over to RaceSpot.tv/timing for live timing and scoring all season long, powered by And1 Design. As you can see then, you say Mogar Philo, of course, a hometown track for him. Now, the last time he was here, he ended up being taken out by Andre Borcher. So Philo looking for a better run at his home track, under better pressure from the INX Racing driver behind, who, Rachel, historically we know are some of the fastest in a straight line.
They are INX, definitely quick in a straight line, but there aren't many straight lines here at Interlagos. Well, this track has only got 2 real flat-out sprint sections here, of course. This section after Curva del Sol and the final run to the line. But, yeah, the INX car is very quick in a straight line. Philo, though, he knows his track well. He's good at the twistier sections, so this is definitely going to be an interesting fight to see who can come out on top.
Let's have a look then back at your race leader. There you can see Alexei Usiakola as he's now got himself a gap of 4 seconds over Oli Picard. Now, last time by, it was a 1:13.2 for Yakola, a 1:13.3 for Picard, 1:13.4 for Cronke, and a 1:13.7 for Hugo Louis. So definitely Alexei Usiakola is really picking up the speed right now, as we do believe he may well be on a free-stop trusty. Well, here are the gaps then as they come past the start-finish line. Yakola to Picard, now 4 seconds. Cronke is up to 6.3 seconds. Louis 7.7 seconds behind your race leader. And, well, it does look as though that Enzo Benito is content to stay in line for the time being, but we do know that one of Luis's weaknesses, Rachel, has been on the exit of this corner, and I'm worried that maybe he's just not got the right gear in that car, although Benito can't really close up that much on that run down to turn 4.
He might have the wrong gear, Will, but he could also be lifting and coasting, saving some fuel in that car to maybe do this a one-stop like Hutu. We don't know. We definitely know that he is being very cautious on his corners. He does not want to eat up those tyres. But this is still early in the run, of course. We know this track being very hot, it could eat the tyres. So guys going very fast very soon, they're going to have to stop more. The tyres will go away. Hugo, yeah, he might be looking slower right now, but there is a good chance he's saving those tyres for later in the run when he can make up positions.
Yeah, just having a look down the field, by the way. Mitchell de Jong and Isaac Price, they are still battling for position. Their gap is about half a second right now, as last time by, de Jong did a 1:13.8. Isaac Price just a couple of hundredths of a second slower than him. As well, 10 laps complete, and of course Alexei Usiakola has led all 11 laps of the season, as that gap is now 4 seconds, and that last time by, a 1:13.1 for Yakola and a 1:13.2 for Oli Picard. As it does seem to be that these trustees are starting to evolve, and tyre management is going to be a critical important one here, as we have a look on board with Richard Avery as he's closed up to the rear now of Mogar Philo as he works himself on the exit of turn number 3, Curva del Sol. Now, just to let you know that Jake Sturgios has been able to get past, as has Ricardo Taule. So now Mogar Philo has got Richard Avery for company. They work themselves down in towards Curva del Sol, turn number 4, Disego de Lego. Exit of that corner, riding along board then with Richard Avery as they work themselves down into Ferradura. And of course, Rachel, Avery is one of these drivers new to the series this year. He wants to not necessarily get himself a top 10, but first things first is finish the race and also try not to make a fool of yourself, which is what Nikurian did a little, this time last year at Interlagos. He had that memorable clash with Gregor Hutu.
Well, of course, Friction Racing brought Richard Avery on in the off-season, Will, so he's a new signing for them. What he has to do today is show why they invested in him. He has to be clean, he has to finish the race, and he has to get some good points. That's all he has to do. He doesn't have to make a superstar move, he doesn't have to make a pass around the outside into the center S's, no two-wheeled racing through Curva del Sol. He just needs to have a good, solid showing, and that's what he's doing right now.
Enzo Benito's got that gap as close as he's been. He's right there in the slipstream then as they work themselves down in towards turn number 5, and it looks though it's going to be looking to the inside. Can't just about make it. That was incredibly close, Rachel, there, but Enzo Benito just couldn't complete that pass down into turn 5. It did look as though he had the inside line. Being a little bit careful early on in the season then for him.
Yeah, definitely being a bit careful, but, you know, it is a long season, Will, so these guys have to protect what they have now. Get some points under their belts, then they can start taking risks. There's no point, you know, crashing out 2 or 3 races in the start when you know you're going to have to be more careful later. Save those risky moments for when they absolutely count.
Yeah, as there we can see then, having another look at Enzo Benito, still running himself in the 5th position right now, trying to close up to the rear of Hugo Luis in that battle for position. Out front, just to let you know, by the way, the gap is holding steady at about 4 seconds. That last time by, Alexei Usiakola had a miserable lap by his standards, only a 113.6 compared to 113.4 for Oli Picard. We'll talk about the implications of that one in just one moment's time. As you can see then, down in towards turn number 4 they come one more time. This time it does look as though Luis has a bit more wiggle room, so he doesn't need to take a defensive line as they work themselves down into that 4th corner. But the important thing here, Rachel, we talked about this already. Tyre management. These tyres will fall off the cliff eventually, and if you're Alexei Usiakola, you've got to get yourself into that 3-stop window. And I'm doing the math in my head as we talk. He's not far away from his first pit stop of the day, but he's still got to get about another 7 or 8 laps out of these tyres.
Yeah, certainly, and Hugo Luis is managing a little better, but traffic's backing up behind him now, so it might be detrimental to him. I do think, though, that Usiakola might well have been light on fuel will for that first run, because if he was planning on taking it 3 stops, he could afford to be a little lighter, make an early break, get some room, who can come in pit road on his own.
Is, yep, going to come down towards turn number 1 again. And of course, he got most of that gap on the first lap. He had himself an absolutely storming first lap where he gained a 2.3 second advantage. When he put it all into perspective after that, he's not done much at all. So you can see Benito right on the rear of Hugo Luis once again as they come down in towards turn number 1. Benito's right there behind. He should get the toe once again as they work themselves out of the curve of the soul down towards turn number 4. Now can Benito find a way past? He's going to be side by side this time by as they work themselves down into the Tego de Lego, and this time by Enzo Benito will indeed find himself through to move Enzo Benito now up into the 4th place and move Hugo Luis down into P5, Rachel.
Yes, he does, and Luis letting him go there to an extent, Will. That's dropping him now to 5th place, but this is his return to the series, let's not forget. He, again, just wants a good finish. He wants to get some solid points under his belt. I can't see him not fighting, though. This is a different strategy we're seeing. It could well be a 1-stopper or a very short stint into 2-stop. We'll have to see.
Yeah, let's get ourselves a replay then of Enzo Benito. Here you can see a bit of a wiggle through the curve of the soul for Hugo Luis, and just easy down to the inside there for Enzo Benito, able to complete that pass down into turn number 4, and that Team Redline driver having a much better start to his season than what he had 1 year ago, as he's now in his 2nd full year as a Team Redline driver, working himself then. Now already 7 tenths of a second ahead he is over Hugo Luis, as they put their 15th lap into the books. As behind them, you've got yourself Jake Sturgis, Andre Borcha going side by side, and Borcha is going to find himself past Jake Sturgis there. Good little battle going on for P12 and 13.
Is indeed, and Andre Borcha there moving forwards in that Commander Simsport car. A little bit faster than we've seen some of the guys at the front of this field. But Borcha having a pretty good run here today, putting him up to 12th now. He's certainly within striking range of 11th, Will, and this mid-pack here is starting to spread out more, which means drivers can actually make passes. When everyone's running in a train, very hard to get a pass because there's nowhere to slot back in realistically. Now, with a bit of room, we should start seeing much more action.
Yeah, and here's the interesting point as we'll have a look back at Alexei Usiakola, see where he is on the racetrack. He's now working himself on the exit of Yun Sao. He's working himself towards pit lane and the start-finish line. 16 laps going to be scored complete this time by as he works himself down in towards that first corner. Now, you realistically need about 30 seconds to do a pit stop here. I'm having a look down through the field. If he was to pit now, he'd end up just around the rear part of your pack. So if you come into pit road now, you might just have a gap. If you leave it too much longer, however, you'll come out onto traffic on either side. And this is one that those teams will be paying attention to, as there's a look at Oli Picardo running in 2nd place, and there's the gap between himself and your race leader, currently at 3.8 seconds. As Rachel, this was going to be one of these races, I think it will come down to strategy to start with, but it's going to be very interesting come the end of the race, as you have people on worn tyres and less worn tyres doing battle. Those drivers on a 2-stopper, yes, they might win overall as far as track position goes, but then they've got to be careful in that final run to the flag that they don't get themselves too hot on their tyres, so the 3-stoppers on pressure rubber be able to find themselves past at the very end.
You have a point there, but of course, 1-stop, risky, so risky. 2-stop, it's the real safe option there. The 3-stop is fastest, but will anyone be willing to do it? This is going to be where you start to see champions coming out, Will, is what the teams will actually do and how many risks they will take. If you want to go for the victory to make a statement early, you're going to have to do something because iWCGPS is miles ahead.
Yeah, just having a look there, you can see Gregor Hutu closing up to the rear of Rocco Baroni as the cars come down in towards turn number 1 once again. Now, it would be 23 laps if you're doing 3 stints. You see there, the Ucola currently scored in that first place. Still 1.7 seconds is the gap, though, between Oliver Picala and Martin Kroenke, as you've got Team Redline still going toe-to-toe for Coanda Simsport. As there you can see, interestingly, side by side, and Hutu's there going to get himself past Rocco Baroni. I was just about to talk about the fact that Baroni is one of these drivers who's new to the World Championship Series in Coanda cars, Rachel. Of course, he's run before, but it looks as though going toe-to-toe with Gregor Hutu there, he's just made himself a bit of a mistake.
He does indeed, and Hutu taking advantage of the experience, definitely showing there. Straight past, no problem, no sweat. Hutu's through, but it's only 7th place, and, well, it's not what we expect to see Hutu.
Well, but let's not forget, we're now into that stage of the race that we know Gregor Hutu is the best. You see that easily down to the inside for Gregor Hutu over that Coanda Simsports driver, side by side. Almost like they did make a little bit of contact, actually, as they worked themselves down into turn number 4 and 5. As Hutu now up into P6, but into that stage of the race where Gregor Hutu is generally incredibly strong. As those tyres start to wear out, as that fuel comes down, we're into that stage of the race that Gregor Hutu is better, arguably, than any other driver in series history. The issue is, though, he's 13.1 seconds behind the race leader, and of course, his own teammate, which is iWCGPS. To run through your top 10 then, ladies and gentlemen, it is currently leading the way still. iWCGPS, Oli Picala is in P number 2, Martin Kroenke in 3rd, Enzo Bonita in 4th, Hugo Luis in 5th, Gregor Hutu in 6th, Rocco Baroni in 7th, Mitchell de Jong in the 8th place, Isaac Price in 9th, and then Jeremy Bootloop rounding out your top 10, as we actually get a look there at Jeremy Bootloop in that Radicals Steel Series car. As well, he's not had himself a bad start today, let's be honest. He's up 3 places from where he started, and he's one of the biggest movers so far inside the top 10, Rachel.
Yes, he is. Getting a good performance right now, but we really are going to see what's happening after this first cycle of pit stops, Will. Too early really to tell what people are doing. We have different strategies running here, so it's impossible to say. Of course, we know who's fastest right now. We don't know how much fuel people are carrying, how much tyre saving is going on. This first sector is not representative. The next sector, though, that will tell us a lot.
Yeah, riding along board with Jonas Nakurian in P number 19. We did allude to it a little bit a moment ago, that the last time Nakurian was here at Interlagos early on in the season, he had himself a miserable time and ended up spinning and taking out Gregor Hutu. Now into his 2nd year of competition, Nakurian looking to really move up through the ranks now of the Radicals Online team, and had himself a great off-season running in GT Star Racing, and he's looking to translate that success over into the World Championship Series as he's closing up now to Tommaso Carla, who in turn is catching Richard Avery in a battle for position. Tommaso Carla, Movano Racing, of course, making their first big charge into the World Championship Series, Rachel. They're battling with Orion, but now they're into the big lead. Tommaso Carla, who is getting himself top 5s, now isn't even in the top 15 as it stands so far.
No, he's not, and running back there in 18th place, Will, that's definitely in the dirty zone. He's going to have to try something very magical to get anywhere higher, but the field has changed. This isn't the Pro Series, it's the big game, so everything is on a different level. Drivers driving much harder than they were. But yeah, we've got a lot of big names further back though. Ilbrink, Carla, we have Vaz, we have Job, Alex Simpson. This grid is rather upside down.
Jake Sturgis just moving himself past the driver of Andre Borcher. He's now up into P number 12. Andre Borcher down into the 13th position on the racetrack, as it just looked to be a very simple pass actually by Jake Sturgis. Slung it down to the inside, and we talked about this at the top of the show, Rachel. Yes, Center S, great place for making a pass. Actually, turn 4 is probably better.
Turn 4 is better. It's a great place to pass. You can do it on the inside and the outside, and there's one of those big fast braking zones, so a good opportunity to outbrake someone, and you could afford to be a little risky. There is runoff.
So there you can see Mitchell de Jong currently scored in 8th place. He, of course, is your 2014-15 iRacing.com Pro Series of Road Racing Champion, making his first full season into the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Now, he did run a couple of events last year. However, this is his first real championship charge as he works himself down in towards turn number 1. We're going to step aside for just one moment, ladies and gentlemen, but you won't miss a thing. For the first time this season, we're going to take you RaceSpot TV side by side. We'll be right back.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As here you can see, we're just a couple of laps away now from the first round of pit stops this season. There you can see your second place driver, Oli Picard. Now, interesting enough, Rachel, he's been caught all of a sudden by Martin Kroenke. Last time by, a couple of attempts for a second faster. A couple of laps previously, the same again. Kroenke just starting to nibble into that advantage that Picard had in the early goings. We have a look from the rear of that number 3 Team Redline driver.
Yeah, we saw this at the end of last season. Well, of course, Kroenke, like Hutu, very good in that middle stint towards the end of a fuel run. So, good tyres there for him. He's looking after his car. This is definitely an advantage showing. I think that the low fuel running of those Redline cars has meant they've eaten up those tyres a little more. They're starting to drop off. I expect they'll be diving into the pits first.
Yep, as you can see, there is Alexei Usiakola as it's 23 laps. Now, this would be into that window if you want to come towards pit road. That window is now open, but no one in your top couple of drivers are coming in just yet. The thing is, what these drivers will generally try and do, Rachel, is get themselves as much fuel as they think they need to be flexible. Because the last thing you want to do is be completely hung out to dry. So you're not going to get a pure, let's go to this number and then pit. You kind of have a little bit of wiggle room, a couple of laps either side, so that if you know what your competition's doing, you can react to it.
Certainly, and of course, nobody would have expected the incident at turn 1 in this race, Will, which separated the field out. That's changed strategies because you have clean air where there was no clean air before. That means that teams do have to have a few laps of fuel to play with just so they can find a nice clean air opening on the track to bring their driver out. You do not want to bring them out in traffic.
Yep, as they can see. Just behind, Mitchell de Jong still closing up to the rear of, Isaac Price still stuck on the rear. And I have to say, very good drive so far by Isaac Price. I mean, let's not forget, Rachel, this is your Pro Series champion, who Isaac Price has kept exactly 1 second between those two drivers, pretty much since the drop of the green flag here today.
Yeah, the Flying Welsh Dragon is doing his thing. Isaac Price having a very good run here, definitely showing why he was the Pro Series champion.
Yeah, as you can see then down into Yunsao they come once again. Just having a look through the field, the only drivers who have pitted so far are drivers involved in incidents at the start of the race. Here is one of them, Christian Tanahote for Friction Racing, that number 35 car, making his first entrance into the World Championship Grand Prix Series, and not the day he would have wanted. Riska Irisake is on pit road. There you can see him. He has had himself a miserable day in that running racing car. He's been on pit road for a long time now. And Antoine Hegelin as well has been sat on pit road for an incredibly long time. Yoni Tamada and Patrick Holtzman out of this event, and it's a bit of a shame actually for Holtzman because of course himself and Carter had themselves an incredible battle in the Pro Series, Rachel. We're looking forward to see that one come through into the World Championship Series in what was a Movano versus a Ryan Race Team battle which went all season long.
It certainly did, and it's definitely going to show in this series, Will. But things definitely going to get interesting.
So then let's have a look through the field then. As you see out front, it's still Alexei Usiakola. Last time by 1 minute 12.898. That is an indication that he is very light on fuel now. He will be on pit road in a couple of laps time. Last time he was 3 tenths of a second faster than Oli Picard as he works himself past the stripe once again. Oli Picaro last time by did a 1:13.129 as he works himself towards the start-finish line. Again, a slower lap that last time by Yakola at 1:13.2 compared to 1:13.006 for Picaro. But now, Kroenke is within 1 second of Martin Kroenke and Oli Picaro, so they are very close all of a sudden. That one has really picked up. Gap under 1 second for the first time since about lap number 2, Rachel.
It is indeed, and that's going to make things interesting. Kroenke definitely charging here, and the other guys in the field are definitely coming up very, very quickly now. This is starting to shift, and we've already had one car into pit road, of course, so we're looking at everybody else now who will be on that 3-stop in the next lap or two.
Yep, so there you can see then Martin Kroenke just eked out that gap. It's a little bit higher. It's now up to about 1 second once for one. There you can see Enzo Benito currently scored in that 4th position. And number 9, Team Redline Machine, just behind him. There you can see Hugo Luis. He has struggled here today as well. He is now scored as 14.3 seconds behind your race leader. And it's kind of a tough day for Hugo Luis so far, but of course we've yet to know what the strategy is with these drivers. Behind there you can see 4-time champion as Alexei Yakola is the first driver to come on towards pit road. As you can see behind, you've got yourself 2 drivers, that is Picaro and Kroenke, each coming onto pit road at the same time. And it looks like we're going to be joined by Enzo Benito. He comes on towards pit road. First driver to stay out are Hugo Luis and Gregor Hutu. So Luis will lead his first lappers. Here you can see then it's Hugo Luis, but for Alexei Yakola, his first pit stop of the day, and Kroenke was slow getting to his stall. Yakola is back out. There you can see his pit stop time was 8.6 seconds, as behind Oli Picaro back out in 8.3 seconds. Much slower stop there for Martin Kroenke, 8.2 seconds, but he was slow onto his pit stall, which is why he lost himself just a little bit of time. As you had Enzo Benito, 9.4 second stop for him. Potentially, Rachel, just putting an extra couple of laps of fuel so that when he comes into his second stop, he can just try and do that overcut that we saw work so well last season.
It is indeed, and of course, this is Yakola out in traffic. He's behind Sturgios. He's currently in 12th place on the track. A lot of traffic ahead of him. This is not a good place for Yakola to be, but looks like this is definitely confirmation that Luis will be on a 2-stop rather than a 3-stop we're seeing for the lead as well. This could be interesting to the finish.
Well, yes, it could be very interesting now. So you can see Hugo Luis working himself out of Yunsao, and he will lead his first lap this season for Kawaii Sim Sports. So hometown hero Hugo Luis, your 2011 champion, now with a just under 1 second advantage from the 4-time champion, which is Gregor Hutu. And let's get a look at the lap times the next time they come past the start finish line. 1:13.1 for Luis, 1:13.2 for Hutu, and Alexei Yakola is in all forms of traffic. As we have a look on board of him, they can see Jake Sturgios just ahead of him on the racetrack. The gap is half a second, but Rachel, Yakola now needs to go onto ultra aggressive mode. He needs to find a way past Sturgios, but here's the issue. Sturgios is on low fuel, Yakola is on heavy fuel.
He is indeed, and Yakola's on cold tyres, or relatively cold tyres, so he's going to have to try everything he can. Sturgios been a good runner, but this different strategy is going to be a problem for him, of course. He does now have Andre Borcher behind him as well, who will definitely try and get past him, and that could hold him up massively. Yeah, we've seen the strategy call now. This is where we're going to see these races play out. The first stint is now over. We now know what some of these top guys are going to do well. This is where we see the big play. This is where we see people making those moves that could be critical for this race. Yakola, he's come out in a bad spot. This could be a race-deciding move.
Yeah, so you can see Oli Picaro as well. He comes out of pit road. Martin Kroenke is still right there behind him, just 7/10 of a second back as we cycle that camera around to get a look then at Martin Kroenke. There you can see just behind him as they work themselves down towards start-finish line to complete 29 laps here. As we've got a couple of other drivers on towards pit road this time by. You've got yourself Rocco Baroni coming in. There you can see him, very, very busy pit road. Let's get a look at the pit times as Rocco Baroni's in for Kawaii Sim Sport. You've also got yourself Isaac Price on pit road, as is Robin Triscott and Jake Sturgios. So you can see 8.6 there for Baroni, an 8.2 second stop for Price, and 8.1 second stop for Triscott. Jake Sturgios comes out in 8.4 seconds, and Riku Aratalo for Glacier Racing has made a pit stop as well, 8.5 seconds on the jacks for him as he comes back out onto the racetrack. These drivers come back out onto the racetrack. Of course, Aratalo is on the racetrack, as there you can see drivers still ahead of him. He's actually lost out a little bit there on that pit stop, as they can see Jake Sturgios is right behind Jeremy Boutaluk in that battle for P13 and P14 on the racetrack. So, as the drivers who haven't pitted, you've got yourself a group now. Hugo Luis, Gregor Hutu, Mitchell de Jong, Andre Borcher, and Marty Piatella have yet to make their first pit stop of the day. They are getting close to being introduced on one-stop territory, as you can see past start-finish line again. It looks as though that both Louise and also Hutu are going to try and make this a one-stop race, and 1 second separates those. The thing is, though, if you're Hugo Louise, you cannot afford to let Hutu get right up behind him. You have got to push like there's no tomorrow while still preserving your tyres, Rachel.
Yeah, certainly, and Hutu's definitely pushed himself because we know he's a mid-stint hero. He's come on pretty strong. He was nowhere near Luis before he's gained, but in the last lap or two, Luis has pulled a small gap on Hutu. It was half a second. It's now 1 second or just over that, Will. So these two both going for it. They know they're both on the same strategy, so this will be a race for position.
And here you can see the 2014-15 Pro Series champion, Mitchell de Jong, now up into third place. He is, however, only 3.9 seconds behind the race lead. And if he goes a little bit longer, well, this can become very, very interesting. It is, once again, Kawanda versus Redline on split strategies. And this is what we love about the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. And if you are a new member to iRacing, ladies and gentlemen, get yourselves 3 months for only $12, all the free content, plus the 4GT. Use that promo code that you see on your screen right now. As we see a car coming onto pit road then, rear of the field, that is Mitchell de Jong onto pit road. So he slows that car down to 70 miles an hour. And Rachel de Jong can't make it to pure one-stop territory, but it'll be very interesting to see how long he is in his pit stop.
Indeed, and this could be a sprint midsection, Will, just to gain up some places and come in for that final stop. It could be interesting to see what he can do. We know he's very quick when he's released.
8 second stop, so this is going to be 2 stops potentially still there for Mitchell de Jong as he heads himself back out onto the racetrack. Well, where will he feed in? Will he feed into traffic? You've got Rocco Baroni around him as de Jong slides his car a little bit as he comes back out, and you can see a clear track behind him. There is a car coming behind him. That is Baroni, but it looks like de Jong has got himself out into clean air, and that is exactly what he would have wanted to have done. So Mitchell de Jong has made himself a pit stop. Now it's just keeping an eye out on your 2 world champions, Hugo Louise and Gregor Hutu. Martin Piatella, by the way, is the only driver yet to have pitted, except for these two. So there you can see Martin Piatella working himself amongst a little bit of traffic back end of the racetrack. But Hugo Louise working himself onto pit road this time by Hutu, coming on exactly the same time. A little bit of traffic just ahead of them, but Hutu, sublime on pit entry. He gained himself up 4/10 of a second. There you can see Gregor Hutu. Now, Rachel, would you try and be a little bit strategic here to just take a lap of fuel out if he's still got to do a 2-stopper?
I might, but I think, well, it's going to be interesting. This will be very, very exciting. I do think, though, they're no longer on a single-stop race. This is definitely looking like it could be a 2-stopper for those two. But Luis holding that position on the pit exit. In fact, a little quicker off pit road than Hutu was in. Opening that gap up now, and they're coming out in a little bit cleaner air than UC Acola had, so only 1 car ahead of them, and I believe that is one of the red line cars.
Benito.
That is Benito, Enzo Benito.
Yeah, so they can see 8.2 second stop there for Gregor Hutu. It was a 7.5 second stop for Hugo Louise. They feed back out onto the racetrack. Now, it's going to be interesting to see whether or not they can go to the end of this race. Marty Piatella is the only driver yet to have pitted. Now, to make it into one-stop territory, you arguably want to get yourself to about lap number 37 to be able to do it without having to come onto pit road for a second time. As they can see, Piatella, the only driver yet to have pitted here today. Let's have a look then. Reset your field as it's once again Alexei Yusiakola leading the way, and here are your top 8 drivers. It's Yakola from Pacala, from Cronke, Piatella, Benito, Louise, Hutu and de Jong as they all cycle through once again. As they can see on the Pacala down in towards 1. They can see Martin Cronke still 1.5 seconds also behind, as we have Martin Piatella, and this time coming on towards pit road. So he is now going to make himself his first pit stop of the day. Everyone has now made themselves 1 pit stop, and let's see how long Piatella's going to be. Only 7.6 seconds as he comes back out onto the racetrack. So all the drivers have now made 1 stop in today's event. As we just go on board then with Piatella, let's see if anyone's going to be around him as he comes back out onto the racetrack. There is another Ferrari car just around him, and that was going to be Ricardo Talas. He's just ahead, and Mogarfilo, well, he's not going to close up as they come down into the Sega de Lego turn number 4 and 5 on the racetrack. And of course, it was an old 3ID driver, teammate of Martin Piatella, making contact with Mogarfilo as we were here last year So, Philo, a little bit of bad blood previously with the old team. Of course, 3ID Motorsports rebranded as Commander Sim Sports midway through the 2014 World Championship campaign. So, interesting battle still going on. It's a 3-horse race right now, as Luis is right on the rear of Enzo Benito, and Hutu is right on the rear of Hugo Luis. The interesting thing is going to be, will Luis be held up here, Rachel, by Enzo Benito? And if so, will these two Team Red Line drivers work together to try and kind of put Hugo Luis out of the picture strategy-wise?
I think they might try, Will. It's definitely something we could see from them, as something I expect them to try and do this early on. But Hugo Luis, he's a canny old campaigner. I can't see him falling for any sort of strategy by them. I think they'd bring him in on an off-sequence stop to get him out of their way if they tried that. Well,
let's have a look then. So we have a look from Enzo Benito from the rear of him. As you can see, the gap is currently about 0.4 of a second. But ladies and gentlemen, here you can see Alexei Usiokola working himself on the back end of the racetrack down towards Yun Sao. Once again, we're going to ride a lap on board with the driver who has led so far 28 laps, make that 29 when he works himself past the start-finish line. A lap on board with Alexei Usiokola. There you are, ladies and gentlemen, a lap on board with Alexei Usiokola, last time by 1:13.1, as he works himself down towards that first corner once again. Now that gap between himself and Oli Picala is now up to 4.7 seconds, as behind Benito, Luis, very close. They work themselves down to that first corner once again. Luis just 3/10 of a second back. Now can he use that toe on the exit of the Curve of the Soul? We ride on board then with Hugo Luis, and his look at the speed charts does fall off a little bit, and you see a defensive line being taken there by Enzo Benito, trying to break that toe as they come down into Interlagos, turn number 4, Rachel.
They do indeed, and I think that Luis is on a bit of a faster stint right now, so we could see some action from him. He's certainly running pretty quickly right now and wants to take that position back from Benito.
As they work themselves down through Ferradura once again, down into turn 7 and turn 8. There you can see your three drivers separated by just 1 second on the racetrack. Gap between Benito and Luis is 4/10 of a second. The gap between Luis and Gregor Hutu, well, that again is about half a second as it stands right now. A great little scrap going on for P4, P5, P6. And you need to remember though, Rachel, that these drivers are on 2 different strategies. So Benito is on the earlier sequence of pit stops compared to Luis and Hutu on the later series of pit stops. The issue is though, is Benito might not only be holding up Hugo Luis, he's holding up his own teammate. Unless Hutu can find a way of slingshotting past Hugo Luis, well, it's gonna hurt both drivers.
Yes, it will, and that's going to be a real problem for them. They've got to do something different now, otherwise they're going to fall into that trap. It's not going to be one of their own making. Right now, Hutu, of course, sitting right behind Luis. Benito's a sitting duck for those two. I suspect they'll both be through in a short order.
Yeah, there you can see Enzo Benito then still holding on in that 4th place for the time being. Down the field, by the way, you've got Isaac Price. He's still battling with Roman Friscox and Jake Sturgis. As there you can see then, you've got yourself, well, a train of Inex racing drivers, Rachel. Currently scored in P9, P10 and P11. Good to see Inex back, of course, there. Slightly smaller team than last year. No Timo Evelyn. He's now running in the NASCAR Peak Entry Series powered by iRacing.com. But you've got yourself Isaac Price in 9th, Roman Friscox in 10th, And then Jake Sturgis currently running just outside of that top 10 in the 11th position.
Yes, he is 11th place right now, but he was, of course, behind Hutu and Luis. He did come in for a pit stop, of course. Fiscops has definitely jumped up now. He's in front of him. Sturgis, though, qualified 15th, currently running 11th. That is a 4-position location, so good improvement there from him. Borcher, of course, has dropped a couple. He's definitely in the middle of a cycle, though, so we'll have to see what happens from him.
Yeah, as you can see, riding on board of Yuhu Abe down in the 18th position. Just having a look as he comes out behind Richard Avery, working himself out the final corner down towards turn number 1. They will come once again, and here's a look at the speed charts there. You can see Avery defending heavily as they work himself down into that first corner. Avery's going to have the position as they comes on the outside down into that first corner. Will Abe be able to make it stick on the outside? The answer is yes. Move Yuhu Abe now up into the 17th position. Move Richard Avery down into P number 18. As we're now into lap number 38 of we've got ourselves Xiao Faz on pit road. He's had himself a pretty horrible day, Rich. We haven't seen what's happened to him, but like a Ryan Race Team car, he's out of the car and he's been on pit road now for quite a while.
He has indeed, and that car's definitely been retired. The action, though, Will, can't take my eyes off right now, is Gregor Hutu, it is Hugo Luis, and it is Enzo Benito. That is 4th, 5th, and 6th. Got some campaigning war horses there, and we've got Enzo Benito, of course, coming fresh off a win last season. What can these three do? It's going to be exciting, and it's so close.
Yep, down in towards turn number 1, they will come. You can see Hutu, the gap between himself and Hugo Luis is 4 tenths to a second. Luis has closed back up to the rear of Benito. It does seem to be, though, that Benito is just a little bit faster out of the curve of the soul. So for Hugo Luis, he's going to have to try and make it work some other point on the racetrack. I'm sure now that Luis will be ruining letting Benito pass him in the early stage of the race, if it's going to be this close between the two of them, as they're now working themselves through turn 5, and now they work themselves up the hill down towards Ferradura once again, which will complete lap number 39 this time by in the iWCGPS World Championship Grand Prix Series. And let's have a look then down the rear of the field. You've got Ilka Hapada battling with Alex Simpson for position. Ryan Race Team versus Apex Racing UK. Ilka Hapada looking down to the inside as they come down in towards turn number 1, and he will get that pass complete over Alex Simpson. Nice, clean, easy pass there by the Orion Race Team driver of Ilka Hapada as he moves himself now up into 23rd position. But neither Apex Racing or Orion are really having the race they would have wanted, because Sebastian Job, Rachel, his first season in the World Championship, all the way down in 22nd. And we need to also give a shout out to Sebastian Job, the youngest ever driver in iRacing.com competition, World Championship competition.
He is indeed, and of course, 15 years old as well for Mitchell de Jong, so pretty young too. Some rising stars there in the series. It is interesting to see, though, of course, the top 2 teams of Redline and Coanda filling out your top 8 spots, I apologise. The first car outside of that grid in 9th. Classic prize for Annex Racing. Of course, behind him is teammate Robin Viscops and Jake Sturgis as well. So, Inex bringing up the rear in the top 10 there. Andre Borcher, of course, well out of position from his teammates.
Yeah, as you can see, Andre Borcher, as he works himself currently in the 12th position, and where he started this race, he's lost 3 positions so far. He was up high as 9th place at some point. He's all been down as low as 13th, but Andre Borcher not really having the day he would have wanted in that Forasa Commander SimSport machine as he works himself back end of the racetrack one more time. You see last time by 113.2 for him. And of course, there you can see Jake Sturgis once again as we ride along board of him as he works himself down towards the inside, trying to catch up to the rear of his own teammate. And Jake Sturgis, of course, he does double duty running also in the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com. You can catch that one on PSR TV, MRN, the Motorsports Network, on Fan Choice TV, and of course right here on iRacing Live. As you can see, that INX racing car driver down in towards turn number 1 once again. Hutu, Louise, Benito still battling for position as they work themselves down into turn 5. It shows just how hard it is to overtake. And I've got a feeling, Rachel, that Louise's car isn't set up to really work. Although he's got himself a very good run, actually, as he's going to look to the outside in Ferradura. And Hugo Louise is going to try and work the outside line. You don't try and make a pass into Ferradura, but Hugo Louise ultra aggressive, and he's almost going to make contact with Gregor Hutu. If he had made that one stick, Rachel, that would have been one of the greatest passes in the history of the World Championship Series.
My god, that could only come from a champion like Hugo Luis. What a move to even think about that, Will. That was incredible positioning. You had to make her think about it to try and stop Hutu coming down the inside, but what a move. It's just a shame that did not stick, although that is one heck of a battle. Something I have been keeping my eyes on, though, is Marti Piatella, Rico Aratalo, and Mo Garfilo, who are fighting out for 14th, 15th, 16th. Well, they're having a pretty hard fight, too.
Yeah, Hugo Luis did go off the racetrack there, so if he did make the pass, he might have had to give that position back as well. You can see there, they continue to battle, they continue to push as they work themselves down in towards turn 4 once again. Here we go, one more time. Hugo Luis getting frustrated as they come down into turn number 4. We'll show you a look at that battle going on in your mid-pack in just one moment's time.
Side by side, Will.
You've got side by side as they come down into the corner. Here you can see Mogar Filo and Riku Anatalo. They are still battling, but Rachel, this is a great little scrap going on.
Oh, it is. These are two very seasoned drivers here, and Filo's going to have a look back to the inside at turn 4. No, he won't make it stick, so he holds it on the outside there, runs behind him in line. Those two are really deciding now they want to make positions, and, well, Alatalo does not want to give a thing up, and Filo wants everything he has, so we could see a mugging happening very soon, bricks and knives included.
Yeah, there you can see Riku Alatalo in the Lone Glacier Racing car for this year. Number 45 machine currently scored down in the 15th position. Mogar Filo just a couple of attempts further back. He runs in the 16th spot, as he's one of the hometown favourites, of course, for today's event in that Radicals Online number 11 car, who are making themselves another year of Grand Prix competition. As you can see, that Hugo Luis just 1/10 of a second back now. This is going to have to be defensive driving from Enzo Benito. We saw Benito make a couple of mistakes under pressure last year. Luis couldn't get the run he wanted through the center S, but you can see defensive driving going on again from Enzo Benito as they work themselves down into turn number 4. Hugo Luis just a 10th of a second back. Now, will he try and do what he did a couple of laps ago and make a move through Ferrador? He's not quite close enough that time by. As you can see, he's just losing a little bit on the exit of corners. And for Luis, he just needs to kind of be a little bit more patient, I think, and then kind of give up turn 1 to get the line he wants into turn 4 and 5. But you just cycle down through your field. As you can see, Richard Avery, Yunus Nakurian battling for P number 18 and 19 on the racetrack, Rachel.
Yeah, they are, and it's one heck of a position there. I can barely take myself. Oh, Hutu wide. 18th, 19th, though, Avery and Nicarian. That's a pretty good fight right now. They're pretty close, but Avery holding on to that position fairly well. Jonas Nicarian not quite able to get a move done, but I have to go back to Luis and Benito. That Hugo Luis has turned on the Brazilian fan sport. He is going for it. That car's never looked so racy all day, Will.
Yeah, they succeed. They come down past the start-finish line again. Now, this is what you need to do if you're Luis. You give up turn number 1. You want to be a little bit further back as you come down into that first corner to get yourself the run you need through the center S, then through the curve of the side. Again, he's just not quite close enough now. Gregor Hutu has fallen back a little bit. There you can see Gregor Hutu about 8 tenths of a second back right now. But whilst this is going on, by the way, we need to let you know that last time by, Alexei Yusiakola was half a second faster than this pack of drivers. As they have come up, you can see down into Ferradura once again. They have kind of allowed Mitchell de Jong to catch up into this game as well. De Jong is now just 6 tenths of a second behind Gregor Hutu. Whilst this is all going on, there you can see the gap between your two race leaders. It's Alexei Yusiakola leading the way by 6 seconds over Oli Picala. Last time by, 112.935 for Alexei Yusiakola. For Oli Picala, it was a 113.1. For Martin Cronke, a 113.4, but then for Enzo Benito, a 113.4 also. And Rachel, they're losing half a second a lap right now to your front drivers.
They are indeed, and they have to get going now, otherwise they're going to fall back even further. De Jong, of course, catching up to this battle, and if he can pass Hutu, that will be a big feather in his cap, and a big feather there for Kuranda Simsport. But this is getting pretty tense right now. Luis is on a charge. He wants to hunt that Italian down and get past until he can get away. I think if he can make it past Benito, he might be able to break away from Hutu, which will be a big, big advantage for him.
Yeah, as you can see, Isaac Price is now caught up to the rear of Rocco Baroni as they come down in towards turn number 4 and 5 to Sega Delego once again. Price not quite close enough, they work themselves down into that corner. But it's a good drive today by the INX Racing driving teams, as they are really the 3rd best team in the World Championship Grand Prix Series based upon the first half of the first round of the championship. As they can see, that ongoing battle for P number 4, 5, 6, and don't forget also P7 as well, because Mitchell de Jong is there in the hunt. As we cycle down through the field one more time, we have also got ourselves Tommaso Carter battling now with Jonas Nakurian as they work themselves down towards Perodua. They can see Tommaso O'Connor as Richard Avery has now been able to get himself past and ahead of Jonas Nakurian in that battle for what was P18. Tommaso O'Connor now banging on the door of Jonas Nakurian as well as they work themselves through Pinheiro, turn number 9, down into turn 10, Bico de Pato, the duckbill corner. So Nakurian struggling in the middle sector of this race. He did struggle the last time we were here as well, but now you can see that gap is continuing to hold at half a second between P4 and P5. Benito and Luis behind. You've got yourself Rocco Barone under intensive pressure right now, Rachel, from the INX Racing driver of Isaac Price.
Yes, he is indeed, Will. And that car there of Isaac Price has been looking very good today. He's chasing Barone, but I just don't know what he could do. Our Commander Simsport car is not looking as fast as his teammates.
Yeah, as you can see, well, we know that Isaac Price is one of, well, the INX cars are always some of the fastest in a straight line. It's been a tradition in the World Championship Series, but last time by, just having a look at the lap times for, sorry, just having a look down the field. I've just lost someone on my time. It's Rocco Barone, last time by, 113.4 for him last time by, so actually, he is at pace with Cronke and Louise to within a couple of tenths of a second, as they can see Barone working himself down through Yun Sao, and of course he's a new addition to that Commander Simsport team as well, so he will be just adjusting to that race team in his first full year of competition. They can see one more time Louise knocking on the door of Enzo Benito as they come down in towards turn number 1. Well, it's very, very, very close between these guys as they work themselves out of the Curve of the Soul one more time. Just having a look, Rachel, though, Enzo Benito at the front of this train is now scored as 17.7 seconds behind Alexei Yisiakoda. They are losing a considerable amount of time.
They are indeed, and of course it's going to come down to the fuel strategy, but I don't think it'll make that much difference, Will. Bakala, Yisiakola and Cronke are in a different race today. They are fighting for the podium, and, well, this is the fight for the best of the rest. Benito, of course, under serious pressure from Luis. I don't think he'll hold it much longer, but they aren't going to make up just over 9 seconds in the rest of this race. Well, I think something big has to happen for that to really change.
Yep, so ladies and gentlemen, here you can see your race leader, Alexei Yisiakola. We're going to step aside for just 1 minute, but you won't miss a thing as we take you side by side.
Monza is a very historic track. It's been around since the 20s, and it's gone through several permutations since then. We're also bringing forward a number of configurations. So there's chicanes that they've installed since the track's early days. So they can use original, very high-speed configurations of the track where the cars would just blow through where the chicanes are today, or they could use a more modern version. So it's a pretty cool, compelling track. The unique thing about Monza is it has a road course, but it also has a high-speed oval, and that high-speed oval can be run by itself. The Grand Prix course can be run by itself, and they also can be run together in a combined circuit, which is very unique and special in motorsports. This was one of the more challenging projects that we've undertaken. It was essentially building 2 tracks in one. It took a lot of time and a lot of care was put into it, but we're really happy about the end result, and we think that people have a lot of fun driving it.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As you didn't miss a thing there on RaceSpot TV side by side, and of course, the 5th round of the 2015 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series will see drivers head to Monza, one of the greatest racetracks in the world, Rachel, making its debut onto iRacing very soon. And I think this is one track that really has got drivers just a little bit excited.
Yeah, it definitely has, and it's going to be an
Sorry,
exciting,
Yakona's on
exciting
pit road.
circuit. He is indeed.
Ricardo's also onto pit road as well, so here you can see then we have ourselves a Ryan car coming on, out of pit road, but here you can see iWCGPS going to make his second stop of the day as he's just putting in the things here. Also got Oli Picardo right behind him as well. Picardo overshoots his pit stall, 8.2 seconds there for Yakola, but this is going to be slightly longer for Oli Picardo. He overshot his pit stall, 8.4 seconds back out and away for him. But Picardo making 2 mistakes on pit road this event, Rachel. That is not like the Oli Picardo we saw last season.
It is indeed, and we saw the strategy change there, of course, because last time we saw the top 4 come in at once. That was Benito, Cronke, Picardo, and Yakola. This time Cronke stays out, so have they decided to do something different?
Well, it was an 8.2 second stop for Martin Cronke that last time by, so he is now going to be light on fuel. The thing is that we need to pay attention to, though, is when will the driver of Enzo Benito almost release his own teammate Gregor Hutu and one of his championship rivals, which is Hugo Luis. As there we can see a look then at your race leader, Martin Cronke. He will officially lead 1 lap this time by, but will he come on towards pit road? As you can see, the answer to that question is yes. So, Martin Cronke coming onto pit road. Let's have a look then. It's down to 70 kilometers an hour as he works himself onto pit road. Very fast entry, of course, onto pit road here. But he will be classified officially as leading 1 lap. Where we can see Enzo Benito stays out another lap. This is going to hurt even more. As you can see now, Cronke into his stall. Let's get a look at the pit stop time for the Coranda Simsport driver as he will come back out in 7.5 seconds. But he's back out onto the racetrack, and Oli Picardo is actually going to be very close between Cronke and Picardo so they come back out. They'll be side by side. Now, this could be costly. That incident we saw Picardo overshooting his pit stall, Rachel, means that Cronke is going to get out ahead of him.
He does indeed, and he is. Picardo is behind Martin Cronke, so that's Martin Cronke into 2nd position right now. iWCGPS is, of course, turning through turns 6 and 7 right now. That in position there we have Cronke just behind him, so he's in much, much closer distance now. Well, he's in striking range. Martin Cronke could be on a charge now. Short stop for him, less fuel. This could be it. This is looking like a 2-stopper for him.
Well, yeah, and of course, Hugo, well, you can see Enzo Benito working himself, so he should probably come onto pit road in the next lap or so. He did do a 9.4 second stop. We did allude to it, of course, after the first round of pit stops, as he will. No, he won't. But you do see there that Luis comes on pit road, so Luis has had enough. So Luis will come onto pit road. He will cycle through. Mitchell de Jong also coming onto pit road this time by. Luis has had enough of being held up there as you get all the Commander drivers on at the same time. Luis on pit road. De Jong's on pit road. You've got Baroni and Borcha all on pit road at exactly the same time. Pit stop time there. Good entry for Hugo Luis. As you can see, he's back out and away in a total time of 7.9 seconds. De Jong out in 8 seconds. Rocco Baroni going to complete his service. Slightly longer, 8.3 seconds, and Andre Borcha is going to come out in 7.7 seconds. So it looks as though that the Coanda drivers simply had enough of being held up by Benito, Rachel.
I think they did. They've come in for a strategic call there. Well, they're out of position now. They're away from that blockage, so this could be a real advantage for them.
As let's have a look to see where Luis comes out overall. Now, Martin Piatella has only made 1 stop so far, but they come out quite a way behind Oli Picardo and that Team Redline car. So Picardo, it looks as though that Cronke is the one who's benefited the most from this one, because of course he's currently scored in P number 4 on the racetrack, and he's 6.8 seconds though behind iWCGPS. So a lot of work will have to be done by Martin Cronke in the remaining stages of this race. Here you can see another lap going to be done there for Enzo Benito, and we talked about also we've got Hutu on pit road, Rachel.
Yes, he is indeed. He's coming down now for his service. We knew he'd be on a similar sort of strategy to Luis if they came in at the same time last time round. Well, that means, of course, Enzo Benito is leading a lap here, but he's been losing pace in that middle stint. I would not be surprised if he comes out further back after that.
Well, here's the important question. Where will Hutu come out in relation to Hugo Luis? We stay on board then with Gregor Hutu. 1 additional lap. Would it make the difference? 7.6 second stop. Hugo Luis is close, but I think that Gregor Hutu will come out ahead of his long-time championship rival. Indeed, he does. Gregor Hutu is ahead of Hugo Luis, and that 1 or 2 additional laps for Gregor Hutu is the difference maker as Hugo Luis loses out then, as at one point it was Luis ahead of Hutu, and Rachel flipped the tables. Hutu is once again ahead of Hugo Luis.
He is indeed, but of course we always knew Hugo Luis was slightly slower than Hutu when it came to pit stop times. Hutu, the master of the in and the out lap.
Yep, so there you can see now confirmation of Gregor Hutu up into P number 5. Leading the way still though is Enzo Benito in that number 9 car, though he is now onto pit road. So he is the last to pit, that additional second worth of fuel, and that first stop translated into a very long advantage. Now the thing is, where will Benito come out in regards to Hutu and Luis? Will it be a double blow for Hugo Luis? As here we can see then onto the jacks for that Team Redline. Number 9 car comes Benito. It's going to be 7.6 seconds out and away. Let's zoom that camera out and see where Hugo Luis is. Well, you can see Hutu's through. You can see it's going to be very close between those two drivers of Benito and Luis. I think though that Benito might just get out. He will get out ahead of Hugo Luis. So Hutu up into P number 4, Benito down into P number 5, Hugo Luis relegated all the way down to P6, Rachel.
Yeah, Hugo's lost some places there, definitely. Hutu gained overall. Brilliant lap in from him there, but yeah, Luis, he's going to have to do something interesting to try and fight back from this.
Yep, so there you can see Enzo Benito right behind his teammate. Now it'll be interesting to see whether or not these two will go for it. Whether or not Benito wants to get one over that 4-time champion of Gregor Hutu. But with 2 stops completed now for pretty much all of these drivers, surprise, surprise, it's still Alexei Usiakola who leads the way as they come down in towards turn number 1 once again. There you can see the gap between your race leader, Alexei Usiakola, and Martin Kroenke is 7 seconds right now. Between Kroenke and Picard, you're looking at about 2 seconds. Then it's a long way back to Gregor Hutu, currently scored in P4, 17 seconds behind your race leader. Benito is scored in the 5th position with Hugo Luis in 6th. Mitchell de Jong in 7th, and Rocco Baroni rounding out your top 8. Those entire 8 drivers are either Redline or Coanda drivers. So that shows once again it's a new season, but the top teams are still reigning supreme. The first one of those drivers outside of your top 8 who isn't a Redline or a driver from Coanda Sim Sports is Robin Friscops, running in 9th place for IronX Racing, with Isaac Price in the 10th position. Now those who have swapped positions during that sequence of pit stops, and then Jake Sturgis is in the 11th position. To run through some of your retirees so far, ladies and gentlemen: Yori Tamada, Antoine Hegland, Patrick Holtzman, Rizky Irisake, Thomas Stern, Yao Vaz, all classified as out of the race. We've got Christian Tanahote, very slow there. I think it's just allowing drivers to go past him. As well, of course, blue flag rules, Rachel, are in operation in the iWCGPS World Championship Grand Prix Series.
It certainly is, and this race has definitely not been boring. Well, we've had an exciting first round. It is not over yet. We have about 16 laps to go, and this is going to come down to the wire, I think. Usiakola's in a strong position now. Will he hold off Martin Kroenke? Do we see a late charge from him? Will he release the Kroenke? Will we find out? Will Picard get past? Who knows?
Well, here you can see that the gap is still 7.3 seconds between Yakola and Kroenke, and last time by 113.1 for Yakola, 113.4 for Martin Kroenke. So it does look as though, barring any major mishaps with 15 laps to go in this event, it does look as though that Yakola is going to start off his 2015 iWCGPS World Championship Grand Prix Series with a victory. Although Martin Kroenke, once again, Rachel, he's picking off from where he left off by being the top driver in that Coanda Simsport organisation.
Of course, and Coanda, very strong lineup this year, but tough at the top. We know he's a powerful driver. We know he can do well. It's time for him to prove it. It's the full first season for him. Let's see it happen.
Yep, so there you can see Tommaso Carlo scored in P18 right now. Richard Avery just ahead of him on the racetrack. 3/10 of a second separating those drivers as they head themselves down in towards Ferradura. We're getting a report as well that Ruku Alataolo having himself some technical difficulties. So it looks like that he will be retiring from this event. He's falling down the timing and scoring sheets, as they can see there. Tommaso Carlo right up behind the rear of Richard Avery. As Avery's been able to stay inside that top 20, so you can see Ilka Hapada as well battling with Sebastian Joe. But of course, we do know that Joe had a little bit of issues under pressure in the Pro Series, Rachel. Now he's in the big time. It'll be interesting to see whether or not he can stand up against some very, very strong competition.
Yeah, certainly, and this competition is going to be taking it to the wire. It's round 1, but this could well be the final round, Will. The drivers here have driven with everything they had from the drop of the green flag, so looking forward to the end of this one, and definitely next week as well.
Yep, so here you can see then Tommaso Carlo working himself still in the 18th position in that Movano Racing car, as he's got himself Richard Avery just a couple of tenths of a second ahead of him. Ladies and gentlemen, so we'll run through, see, you've got yourselves Enzo Benito, still there within touching distance of Gregor Houtu. And you've got Hugo Luis just a couple of tenths of a second further back. You're right on board then with Hugo Luis in that number 6 Commander Sim Sports car. And there you can see the gap is increasing. It's now 1.7 seconds between those two drivers as they head themselves down in towards turn number 1 one more time. We're going to step aside for the final time this race, ladies and gentlemen. But here you can see Andre Borcha, Jake Sturgis battling for position right aboard of this. We'll be back in just one moment.
The NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com has officially begun.
Ladies and gentlemen, the second round of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series powered by iRacing.com will be on March 10th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time as drivers head to the high banks of Las Vegas Motor Speedway for 300 miles of action, 167 laps around Las Vegas Motor Speedway. I do apologise on that one. And it will be on PSR TV, MRN, the Motor Racing Network, Fans Choice TV, and of course on iRacing Live. Welcome you back to the action here then on RaceSpot TV of the first round of the 2015 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. As there you can see, Alexei Usiakola, 7.4 seconds to this advantage now over Martin Kroenke, and some incredible lap times being turned here by Alexei Usiakola. And we knew how fast he was last year, Rachel, in Glacier Racing, but now it just seems to be this switch, this team change, has benefited both him and Ollie Picard because they are both ahead of the 4-time champion Gregor Houtu.
Well, we weren't certain when they made their move from Glacier Racing, Will, but Picala and Yakola are running strong. This is their first outing with their new team Redline, and, well, one first and third. It's exciting and it's quick, and it definitely shows potential to come. Just another insight there, Mitchell de Jong is past Luis, so that team position has switched again. Mitchell de Jong's in for a good finish in his first race.
Yeah, and the one driver who's struggling so much here today is that one. It is Hugo Luis, as he's lost out now to his own teammate, of course, the 2014-15 Pro Series champion, Mitchell de Jong, making his first official World Championship event, Rachel, of course, as a Commander Sim Sports driver, and he is putting on a very good show. Hugo Luis, we talked about this in our WCS preview show, the fact that he did take, a couple of months out of the series, and he's come back and he's struggling, really struggling right now. He is the third fastest driver in Commander Sim Sport as it stands.
He is, but we always knew there'd be some time for him to readjust. Of course, this is his first return to the competition. It's one thing him driving the car fast, which he clearly can do. It's just he is struggling over the race distance, and that will come back to him, I think. He's a champion. He's clearly got the talent. I just think he needs to warm back up again. It'll take him a couple of races, but he's been out for so long right now that it's going to be a big thing for him.
Yep, so there you can see behind the blur, you've got yourselves Isaac Price in P number 10. You've got yourself Robin Friscops just ahead of them on the racetrack. Now here's the interesting thing, Rachel. These two are teammates, but they are fighting for the best non-Coanda or Redline driver. Do you think these two will actually go at it, or is it a case now of good old McLaren style, you got yourself past the second pit stop, hold fire?
I don't know. I think they're going to let them fight because they're outside the top 5. There's no real need for this to be a points issue. No one's looking at championships yet. So I think they should be allowed to fight. It's round 1. We don't know who's leading. We don't know who's faster. these teams will have to work it out amongst themselves to who is the quicker driver and who they need to let past in later races. But if they don't fight, I'd be surprised. Price, we know he's been fast. I think he could be past Robin Friscops in short order.
Yep, there you can see Richard Avery to Tommaso Carla. It is just 4 tenths of a second separating these drivers now, turning down the laps at Interlagos. Well, Avery and Carla, of course, they are both into the big leagues, Rachel, and they are both doing themselves a very sterling job right now. Of course, Carla was a little bit aggressive in the Pro Series. We did see him involved, of course, in Alatalo Gate at the perfect Spa-Francorchamps race, but both these drivers are pushing right now, and both of them are going to get themselves, if they can get past the next 10 laps, a finish in the first round of their World Championship careers.
It is, and it's going to be a big tell for them in this race if they can do just that. It's important to get those finishes, and as I mentioned with the Avery thing before, they've just got to come out and they've got to show what they can do. They've got to have solid results, and they've got to get positions. It's not about being a hero, it's about proving you're worth the seat.
Yeah, as you can see there, just having a look back at that battle going on with Friscops and Price and Sturgill. So 3 drivers still separated by less than 1 second apiece. As we're now on to lap number 62 here even. Now on to lap 63 of 71 here at Interlagos. As you can see, Jake Sturgill still scored in that 11th place on the racetrack. Let's have a look down the field just a little bit. And you have got yourself Mogar Filo battling with Yuhu Abe, and that is a battle for number 15 and 16, Rachel, as the Radicals Online team battling with Yuhu Abe in the battle for position. Jeremy Bootsloop is running that 14th position, but he's got himself a big old gap over his teammate Filo.
Yes, he does, and Mogar Filo is definitely having a good run at the moment. He wants to come back at Jeremy Bootsloop, but I don't know if he'll be able to pull it off, Will. Just not close enough together there, and no, he can only really lose out to Yuhu Abe behind him.
Yeah, as you can see there, the gap between Filo and Abe, still 6 tenths of a second. They come down in towards turn number 1 again. Now, Rachel, one thing that we did say might have been an issue, which hasn't been an issue so far, is the drivers who came in early are having worn tyres. We're down now into the last 10 laps of the event. I'll be interested to see whether anyone can make up some positions at the latter stage of this race. It does seem to be that everyone's beginning to manage their tyres okay, and all the scares that we had before the race seem to have dissipated a little bit.
They have to an extent, and of course things are spread out. These things will happen over a race distance, and we've been through pit cycles. Guys stronger at pit stops obviously stay close together, the ones that aren't will not. But we have a whole field currently on the lead lap running within 1 minute 12 on the racetrack, so quite spread out. This is not a field within a second sort of range. And the red line pace has been shocking. Just what they've managed to pull has been incredible, Will.
Yeah, as you can see, Ilka Hapala going side by side then with Sebastian Jobe as they come down into Ferradura. Can Jobe hold it around the outside? No, he can't. Ilka Hapala will get that position then from Sebastian Jobe as they work themselves back end of this race now. Ilka Hapala up into the 21st position there in that Orion Race Team car. Sebastian Jobe down into 22nd in the Apex Racing car, but Rachel, he did hold it out to dry there as he's just slowing down to allow leaders to go past him on the exit of that is Mugello. Now he works himself down into Yunsao, but he did try and hold it too wide for Ferradura.
Well, it's a brave way to try and do it, but at the end you just can't hold that. It's a little too exciting to hold on there.
As you can see, Abe is now right on the rear of Mogar Filo as they work themselves through turn 4 and 5. Although a bit of a wiggle for Yuhu Abe in that 16th position. That's going to fall them back just a little bit as they work themselves down into Ferradura. Once again, the gap between these two drivers is still less than half a second right now. Just to give you an update, by the way, you have got yourselves a total of 21 drivers scored on the lead lap. Here you can see Ilka Hapana. He was classified as the last driver on the lead lap, and there you can see Alexei Usiakola is right behind him though as they work themselves down towards Ferradura once again. So to have this many drivers on a narrow racetrack finish on the lead lap, Rachel, does show the strength, at least in the early part of the season, the fact that we're likely to have 20 drivers finish on the lead lap.
That's not many for a race of 35. This has definitely become pretty spread out, of course. And let's not forget, we lost quite a few because of incidents early on. So we also lost Rico Atalo due to technical issues, I also heard, but he's now back on track.
Yep, as you can see there, Alexei Usiakola has now got himself up and past Sebastian Jobe. So we're just having a look then at the gap between himself and Martin Conke. It is down to 6.2 seconds, although Yakola has had to work himself through traffic the last couple of laps as last time by a 113.3 there for Alexei Siakola. 113.1 this time by, as he works himself back down in towards turn number 1. And well, for Alexei Siakola, it has been a race which he started from pole position. He has led a total of 56 laps here today. To run through the different race leaders, you've had Martin Kroenke. He has led himself 1 lap. We've also had Hugo Luis leading 5 laps and Enzo Benito leading a total of 3 laps here today. So 4 different leaders, but the story has all been about that number 4 Team Redline driver making an impression on his first race for Team Redline. Just having a look through the field as well, you have still got that battle going on with Baroni, and Friskops is back into this one as well now. So this is actually Friskops trying to get himself up into 8th place, Rachel, and last time by, he's matching Baroni for pace, and of course now he is into that dirty air, but 1 second, one little slip up from Baroni as he works himself through a bit of traffic soon, well, you could have Friskops getting up into P8.
He could indeed, and Friskops is running pretty well. He's been very, very consistent. I just can't quite see Baroni making a mistake. That Commander car's been very tight. Not been as fast, but it hasn't made many issues. Hugo Luis, though, he's dropped back. He's in 7th place now. That's just... he's falling off his teammate Mitchell de Jong. He's got now 3 seconds back, Will.
Yep, we're going to show you a replay. We're not quite sure when this happened, but Yuhu Abe has now been able to get himself past Mogo Philo in that battle for P15 and P16 on the racetrack. So Yuhu Abe now is up into that 15th position. Now, we are getting word it might have happened down at turn number 4. We'll try and stick it with this replay for just a couple of seconds. You can see he wasn't down in towards turn number 1, but Mogo Philo then falling back at the latter stages of this event. Still a good showing, though, for the number 11 car, who, of course, is now in his 3rd year of World Championship competition. Yuhu Abe is now into his 2nd year of World Championship competition. And, of course, maturing as drivers, a lot of them are, as Abe's now been able to pull out a 1.1 second advantage over Mogo Philo as they head themselves back down towards the start-finish line one more time. Price and Sturgis, just a couple of tenths of a second separating those, the 2 Inex Racing teammates. You have a look from the rear then of Isaac Price. Now, Price's tyres have been the ones that I think have gone off the most, Rachel, out of these 3 drivers. And, of course, you kind of get that running in the middle of a 3-car pack the way that these drivers have.
Yeah, it's well, you're in these small packs, of course. It does end up meaning that you do lose time against the competition. You aren't running in clean air, it slows you down. And, well, you need to find your way out of that or get out of it on pit strategy, but they're all over, so there you go.
Yeah, as you can see, Richard Avery, Tommaso Carter continuing to battle on the racetrack as there's 3 tenths of a second separating those drivers as they are scored at the rear end of your top 20. You've also got Sebastian Job and Dion Verges. They are having a scrap right now as it's another Orion Race Team car battling with Sebastian Job. He can't get away from them this event. But half a second separating those drivers as last time by, Job was a couple of tenths of a second slower than Dion Verges as they work themselves now onto another lap. And just having a look as well, there you can see Richard Avery, Tommaso Carter have one more look at this one then as they come down in towards turn number 1. Carter's got that gap down to 2 tenths of a second, down to a tenth and a half. Tommaso Carter going to try and go for a position here late on in the race. Avery going to go defensive, but Carter is going to sweep around the outside there. Tommaso Carter, perfect move there, Rachel, down into turn number 1.
Oh, this is the sort of move you want to see in the Center S's. It was clean, it was efficient, and he made it stick. Brilliant move there from Tommaso Carter.
Well, let's get ourselves another look at that one on board with Carter. You can see that you have Richard Avery going defensive down the front straight away. So Tommaso Carter will just flick it to the outside. Now you can, of course, always pass on the outside down turn 1. You brake so late. See, Carter had the overspeed coming down into that first corner and just sweeps past there. Actually was able to get his braking done perfectly late on the brakes. Tommaso Carter moves himself up into P number 17 on the racetrack as we are now down just a couple of laps to go. And here are your top 8. It is still Yakola leading the way. 6 seconds to gap between himself and Martin Kroenke. Oli Picard in 3rd. 4th place is Gregor Hutu, Enzo Benito in 5th, Mitchell de Jong in 6th position, Hugo Luis in 7th, Rocco Baroni rounding out your top 8, with Robin Friskops in 9th and Isaac Price rounding out your top 10. But that last time by, Friskops has closed that gap down just a tiny bit more, 2 tenths of a second faster that last time by, Rachel.
Yes, he was, and that's a big factor at this stage of the race, of course. We're now into the very closing stages. 3 laps to go. This is it now. Push or lose those positions.
push or go home, essentially. As you can see there, Robin Friscops in the 9th place, trying to break that stranglehold of the top 8 of Coanda and Redline drivers. You can see 2 laps of this event now remaining here on RaceSpot TV. As we're just having a look then at Robin Friscops, still in P9, falling back a little bit this lap to go back on board of him as he works himself on the exit now of Yunsao. Up the hill he will come. He'll have 2 more attempts to try and close up to the rear of Baroni, but it's going to be, of course, a tall order for that lead IronX Racing driver in that number 19 machine as they come down and towards turn number 1 more time. Out front, however, it's been all about this driver of Alexei Yusiakola, but Martin Kroenke, let's not forget about him, Rachel, because he has had to drive for that position, and, well, he's been all the way down as 11th at some point during the sequence of pit stops, came out of traffic at one point as well, but he's just been able to persevere. Strategy has just gone well for him today.
It has indeed, and the strategy has always been the factor of this race, but people not knowing what everyone's going to be up to, the different speeds of the teams. It was always going to be an interesting race, of course, and with the tyre wear being so high, the track being so loose, strategy was the critical component here. Teams that made it work have benefited. Teams that haven't, well, it's fallen apart. But it does seem to think that one of the biggest things here has been that teams have gone off strategy. They've changed things mid-flow.
Meanwhile, though, on to the final lap of the first round of the World Championship, and here you can see Alexei Yusiakola now a minute away from claiming his first victory in quite a while, actually, because, of course, he did win a race last season. That was the 3rd round of the championship, an epic finish we had to that event at Suzuka. But Alexei Yusiakola works himself through Ferrodura for the final time. There you can see the gap. It is 6.1 seconds between himself and Martin Kroenke. To run through some of the outstanding battles, it looks as though they have all calmed down. Nothing, it was about 6 tenths of a second between Baroni and Friscops, but unless there's an issue, that one will stay as it is. Riding along board then with the driver who has led a total of 61 laps so far today. He will lead 62 by the end of this motor race. Just 1 more braking zone to go for Alexei Yusiakola. And yes, it is Team Redline back to victory lane, but it's going to be the new driver, the number 4, Dracula himself, Alexei Yusiakola, wins the first round of the 2015 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. 2nd place going to Martin Kroenke as he comes past the start finish line. 3rd place will go to Ollie Pacala, and then 4th place will go to Gregor Hutu, out-driven today by his 2 new teammates. Enzo Benito rounding out your top 5, Mitchell de Jong in P number 6, Hugo Luis, a disappointing P7 for him. Rocco Baroni now working himself past the start finish line, 6 tenths of a second separating himself and Robin Friscops. They come past the start finish line. That one will finish as is. Friscops will come in 9th, and Isaac Price will round out your top 10. No real changes or dramas in the last part of this lap, except for Alex Simpson. Of course, he's already finished. I think he might have been out of fuel or something. We'll get word on that one. But Alex Simpson stopped on the racetrack. But Rachel, 4 Redline drivers inside the top 5. The thing is, though, Gregor Hutu has been outdriven today by 2 of his new teammates, and it shows there's got to be something in that finish water.
Yeah, absolutely, and just incredible race today. We knew Redline would be powerful coming into this race. We knew they had a huge lineup, and we said this in the preview show. Well, we said, will the success of Redline's new teammates take points away from Gregor Hutu? Today, they've done just that. Ollie Bacala, Alexei Yusiakola, their 2 new signings, have taken 1st and 3rd positions. Hutu, he's not even on the podium in the first round, so there you go, that says a lot. I think this could change the championship standings if these guys continue to win races.
Yep, so here you can see Alexei Yusiakola, having a look from him then as he works that car back towards pit road, winning the first race of the season. And there you can see victory formation for the Team Redline drivers now, as we're going to see the donuts for Alexei Yusiakola as they come towards the start finish line. There you can see your race winner, Alexei Yusiakola. You can also see that Ollie Pacala just in the foreground as well, thinking about doing some donuts, deciding that maybe he doesn't want to do any for the time being. But there you can see Alexei Yusiakola, ladies and gentlemen, is your winner of the first round of the championship. Let's run yourself then through your final race results, ladies and gentlemen, as it is going to be Alexei Usiakola claiming victory in the first round of the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. Second place will go to Martin Kroenke for Co-Anderson Sport. Now, ironically, the only Co-Ander driver inside the top 5. Oli Picard in third, with Gregor Hooter in the 4th position. Enzo Benito rounding out your top 5. Then Mitchell de Jong in 6th place. Hugo Louise in 7th. Rocco Baroni in 8th. Robin Friscops in 9th. And then Isaac Price rounding out your top 10. Then back onto page number 2. You can see Jake Sturgios in 11th. Andre Borch in 12th. Marty Piatella 13th. Jeremy Bouzaloop in the 14th position, with Yuhu Abe in 15th. Mogar Philo 16th. Tommaso Carla in 17th. Richard Avery 18th. Jonas Lekurin in 19th. And Paul Lilbrink rounding out your top 20. Ilga Hapala in the 21st position, Sebastian Job in 22nd. Then you got Dion Verges, Alex Simpson, Frank Levesque IV, Paulo Mulia, Miguel Martin, Rafael Talo, Christian Tanahote, and Yao Vaz. As Tanahote, Vaz are the first 2 of your real retirees. As then you can see the rest of your retirees: Thomas Sturm, Risky Uesake, Patrick Holtzman, Yoni Tamar, and Antoine Heglin. Ladies and gentlemen, you are going to step aside for just a couple of moments. We'll be back with post-race interviews after these messages. You are watching RaceSpot TV. Cars are lined up on the grid. The iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are underway. They all come down into turn 1 for the first time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to post-race coverage then of the first round of the 2015 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, where your winner, well, that is Alexei Usiakola, marking his debut for Team Redline in the only way that you could possibly imagine being worthwhile. And he stood by with us here now on RaceSpot TV. Alexei Usiakola, welcome back to iRacing World Championship Victory Lane. Gotta be happy bringing that Team Redline car to a win in your first outing in it.
Yeah, well, thanks, Will. And yeah, it felt kind of good.
Only kind of good.
Yeah, actually, this race was all about qualifying and start of the race, so those 2 things went perfect for me today. And after that, it was actually just keep the car on the track and keep your tires going.
Well, we did, of course. Go on, you finish.
And of course, pit stops need to be good and stuff like that.
Well, let's take you back then to that first lap. 2.3 seconds you got yourself ahead of the field in that first lap. How important was that start? How did you do such a brilliant start?
Well, I don't know what happened because I haven't been practicing starts only like 3 times before this race. and I was so nervous about it. I didn't know how to start. I don't have any any information how to make it easier or nothing. I just were full throttle and lifted my clutch. So I just kept the car kept going without wheel spin, and it was a perfect start.
Well, you of course lead the championship now in that Team Redline car, beating out not only your long-term teammate of Olli Pekala, but also the four-time champion Gregor Hutu as well. And we've talked extensively about how tight this field is going to be. How do you think you're going to fare momentum-wise now, getting that first victory of the season in that Team Redline camp?
Well, it was the first race, and of course it was nice to see that our pace is enough compared to Coanda and others, because it's always everybody just practice before the season, and it's hard to know what times you need to do. Only thing you can do is to compare your teammates, and well, it's good that we have a pretty strong group in our team. So well, basically we all were in the same pace on the qualifying and the race also. So it was all about that qualifying and where you start the race and do you survive the first lap, because as you saw, Gregor was like 8th on the qualifying. If he have been like 2nd or 1st on the qualifying, he would have been fighting for the victory today.
Well, congratulations on the race win, ladies and gentlemen. Alexi Usiakola, and second place goes to... Well, not second place goes to him. Second place goes to Martin Kroenke. There he is. And Rachel Whiteford is stood by with him.
Hi, I'm down here with Martin Kroenke. Martin, you here?
Yes, I'm here. Hello.
Hi. Well, you started in 3rd today. You had a tough race, but you brought it home in 2nd with a brilliant final pit stop. Tell me about your race.
Well, given the result, it was quite okay, especially given the severe lack of practice I have due to university commitments at the moment. But start was not as good as I thought. I had a little bit too much wheel spin, and the start of Hugo and also Alexi was quite good, so there was nothing to gain there. We then had a pretty chaotic first couple of laps, well, not chaotic, but that's quite interesting, with a 3-wide I think in lap 2 into turn number 4. But after that it pretty much settled down rather quickly. Hugo was so nice to let me go since he was a little bit higher on fuel load, and after that it was basically just driving around. There was not really a decent way to pass on this track, as I have noticed with Hugo.
Considering you actually had a fastest lap than Alexi Usiakola of a 1 minute 12.730, a full 10th.5 clear of him, do you think that different team strategy could have actually gotten you into position to win this race? And do you think that the next track's coming, you can be in that position?
For this race, probably not. I speculated that maybe Alexi will have not so good start like he used to in the last year, I think. But he had a pretty good start, and I guess even if I was 2nd after turn 1, I probably wouldn't have had a chance to actually pass him. You can't really get close enough to actually pass, even though Hugo was a bit slower due to the higher fuel load in the first couple of laps. I couldn't pass him on my own without him basically lifting off.
It did seem as though there was a bit of a strategy change during that race where you followed the lead pack in on that first stop. Were you planning on a 2-stop, or were you going to go for the 3?
We were planning on a 2-stop initially, although in the second stint for whatever reason I didn't really plan to do it. Saved a little bit of fuel and could go a lap longer than scheduled, so that was kind of nice and maybe helped to get past Olli, I don't know. But it was a clear 2-stopper from the get-go.
Well, thank you for that, Martin. Martin Kroenke came home in 2nd step on the podium today. Will, back to you.
Yep, so Martin Kroenke then picking off from where he left off last season with an impressive performance. 3rd place goes to Olli Pekala in the 2nd Team Redline car. And Olli, you moved from Glacier Racing over to Team Redline. You again pick off from right where you left off. Podium finishes galore, getting yourself right there in the thick of it. But how was the race for you today?
I'm pretty happy with my race. I had throughout the race I had a massive stutter, so I couldn't tell my corner speed into the apexes, so it was pretty much like 70% performance for me today, and I was surprised that I got third position. But yeah, very fun race, nice first few laps with Martin and Hugo. Massive fun.
Well, you've been fighting with Kronke, you've been fighting with Hutu, and of course you teammate of Yakola as well. Now, we're just having a look at the graphic on the screen here, that you started 4th, moved yourself up 1 position, but you pretty much there in the catbird seat watching your teammates start, just absolutely blistering down into turn number 1. The one question we have got to ask you is, the last time we saw you in World Championship competition, you didn't get going. How nervous were you that the same thing might happen again?
Not that much, really, because 1 season behind and this is whole new season, so I wasn't much nervous. I was thrilled, I'd say. So I enjoy this now much more than the previous season. I think the experience gives me a little bit of advantage now when this is our second season. As you can see from Alex's performance, it helps.
Well, you finished in 3rd. You've got 4 Team Redline drivers inside of the top 5. As we head over to Phillip Island in a couple of weeks' time, preparing for the second round of the championship, how do you think that this is going to help the team fair overall, and how do you think it's going to help your individual championship charge?
Of course, getting a good result from the first race, podium is very good result. We have drop weeks and feel this stuff, so even the 3rd position, I think in the long term it will help, and it's much more easier to go to the Phillip Island, because always the first races are like benchmarks where we are, and I think we are quite even with all the top 7 or 8, so it's all about the mental game for the season, it looks so far now.
Well, Oli Picardo coming home in the 3rd place in the first round of the 2015 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, and of course he came home in 3rd place in the 2014 World Championship. I'm going to hand it back over to Rachel, and she is stood by with the one and only Mr. Hugo Louise.
Hugo, I'm here down with you in the paddock at the moment. Of course, not the best race you could have expected. You did bring it in 2nd place in qualifying, which was a big jump for you, having spent a good half the season off last year. You were up in the positions, you fell back early on, you seemed to be trying to conserve tyres, and then in the next stint you were going fast, so was there some strategy issues? Tell me about the race for you today.
Hello everyone, hello Rachel. Well, I don't feel that bad for the result today. By the fact I haven't been a while off, so I still need to get some self-confidence again. During the race I couldn't get my strategy right. I thought it would be worth trying the strategy I had, but back on lap 5 I see it wasn't going to work really, but nothing I could do, and then the tires started to be way weird, and yeah, I started to commit some mistakes, and then I run out of confidence basically. So it's still a not bad start of the season. Everyone is very fast here, and I look forward to the next races. I guess I will be working to get some more race pace, so I can be competitive to win a race again. But that's it. I'm happy about the result today. Nothing to complain really, and I'll have to find out what I can do to gain some top speed, because people was flying past me like I was stopped. But anyway, I would like to say thanks to Forrester for supporting us, and Underworld Design and RaceSpot TV for doing all this.
Of course, you were the 2nd highest finishing Commander SimSport race car. Of course, you came home in 7th place. Well, the only teammate of yours and the only non-Redline car in the top 5 was Martin Kronke in 2nd. But you were the 3rd fastest overall. Do you think there's an element of rust still from your time away from the series? Do you think you can find that speed again and compete?
Yeah, well, as I always say to people, everyone in this series is capable of winning a race. Basically, some little things that makes difference in the race, like a few things on setup or self-confidence. And self-confidence is way important, and this is what I didn't have today, really.
I've been here with Hugo Louise. Well, he's come home today in 7th place. Not the finish you would have wanted. Back to the studio.
And finally, Isaac Price coming home in the 10th place in the Inex racing car here today. And, well, Isaac, Inex really have been best of the rest, but did you really expect the competition ahead of you to be so intense as it was?
Well, I think, to be honest, yes, because it's always really competitive in the first few races of the season, and Interlagos is always very close, so we weren't really sure what to expect, because you can be missing a 10th and it makes a huge difference on the grid.
But you came home, you started off pretty well, and you 3 Inex drivers pretty much were running line of stern come race end, but started 10th, finished in 10th. Overall, are you happy with your result, not only individually, but as a team as well?
As a team, I'm definitely happy with the result. I mean, we were basically best of the rest of all the teams outside the big 2, with Coanda and Redline ahead of us, and we even managed to beat a couple of the Coanda guys. So, I mean, as a team, we've got to be happy with the result, but obviously, from my perspective, I probably should have got 9th, but I made one small mistake in the race and it cost me the place to Robin. So it was just one of those races where you never know what it's like. Sometimes in the midfield it's sort of quite a long way below your race pace, all line astern and can't overtake, whereas this race it was more like really fast driving and flat out the whole way.
Well, second round of the championship, we are going to see you head over to Phillip Island. It's a track that Inex have traditionally been pretty good at. What do you think your thoughts are as we head to the Land Down Under?
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be more of the same, to be honest. It's going to be like Phillip Island is quite a simple track to drive, so it's going to be really close in qualifying, and it's all going to be about who gets the lap together in queue, because if you start far down on the grid, it's hard to make anything happen. I mean, you saw Gregor down in 8th, and maybe he had the pace to challenge for the win, but because he missed a 10th in queue, he couldn't. So
they are Isaac Price coming home in the 10th position here today. By popular request, we're going to allow your 2 Finnish drivers to say a couple of words in Finnish. Well, just talk, Alexi and Ole, go on.
Well, thank you, Will. I need to also thanks to my new sponsors, because they are also important thing in the sim racing, because it's a new thing to me, and only have actually real support from the team, because last year we was just basically doing things to ourselves. So big thanks to Fanatec and OKO and our rest of our team crew. Really great to show what we got and get this opportunity to compete at this level and win races. But now in Finnish couple words, so eikä siinä. Tänään meni kaikki putkeen, startti ja aika ja kaikki meni aivan loistavasti. Ei voi muuta sanoa kuin, että sinne kisastudioon ja muuallekin terveisiä ja kiitoksia kaikille. Parin viikon päästä voitetaan taas. Moro moro.
Yeah, thanks to Fanatec and Nokia from great support is working already, and thanks to Alexi and Gregor and Enzo and Dom of course for the great support for the first race. And ja ei mitään muuta kuin koneet oli vähän rikki ja ei siinä mitään, korjataan ensi kissaan, kokeillaan pärjätä paremmin ja terveisiä sinne Kelojokkaan, jos siellä kathellaan. Ottakaa huikat tälle 3. siellä ja kohta sikaillaan. Morjesta vaan.
Kiitos.
Kids.
Yeah, there we are. We've got ourselves the two Finnish drivers, and now we're going to have a word with Mitchell de Jong in American. So hello, Mitchell.
Hello, thank you.
Been a good race for you here today. Beat out your teammate Hugo Louise, coming home sixth in your first official full year of iRacing.com World Championship competition. Now, you've run against these guys a couple of times before, but how does it feel to have your World Championship license and finally be able to stand on the grid alongside these people as equals?
Yeah, it's great. It was a really great pro series to get the license, and it's nice to be here. And that was a really fun race. I have to accept that with some hardware issues I had. It was just before the race. I have a small board just to run the paddle shifters, as I just got a Bodner wheel, and that board died. So I was driving with a sequential shifter in only one hand, and then fortunately with the Bodner wheel, it makes it much easier to save the car and things like that. So that was it was a crazy race, but I'm excited to start the season there and hope to improve more.
Well, of course, now you are a member of the Commander Simsport organisation. We will see you, of course, in 2 weeks down at Phillip Island. And as we head down under, can you take it again to your own teammates? And what do you think you can do and your teammates can do at a track that traditionally your team have been a little bit faster than Redline at?
I know everyone on the team has great pace, so I'm not too worried about that. I think everyone on the team will be probably within the same 10th and have pace to run top 5. And I'm excited. I think it'll be great, and it'll be a fun one for sure.
Well, Mitchell de Jong coming home in the 6th place here today, and Rachel, in 2 weeks' time, we do it all again, and we head ourselves over to Phillip Island for what is probably the fastest, craziest race of the year.
Indeed, heading to Australia, where Timing Kangaroo Down is a love song. Yeah, great track at Phillip Island. It's going to be an awesome race. Very difficult track for open wheelers, some very technical corners. It's going to be awesome, Will.
Yeah, and if you've never seen cars go too wide down to turn 1 at Phillip Island, hold your breath. It's going to be a crazy one. Thank you very much to everyone who's been watching us here today on RaceSpot TV. Don't forget, for more information about the iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, head over to wcs.iracing.com. The next round of the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series, powered by iRacing.com, is on March 10th. 167 laps around Las Vegas Motor Speedway. That will be live on PSR TV, MRN, the Motor Racing Network, Fans Choice TV, and also on iRacing Live. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Start time 1:30 p.m. GMT here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live for the second round of the 2015 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series. In the interim, myself, Will Vincent, and Rachel Whiteford, this has been a RaceSpot TV presentation, and we shall talk to you all next time.